Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's William Safir coming to you as host of the University Online Learning course, all the way from the ATL here in Atlanta, Georgia. We want to welcome our listening audience, and certainly uh, out front in that welcome uh, is is the class, my fellow class members. No matter where you are joining the class from, be it in the continental United States or any place here in our home that we call the planet Earth. Doesn't matter. We were welcome. Uh, we always want to start uh, with, as we proceed through this life, of course, we always start with thought, and then from the thought, it generates other activity throughout our body, and we have emotions that follow the feelings and that are emoted, uh, and it just starts a whole action and reaction throughout our whole system that we call the human body, which carries this human edifice. And so to put things in motion, to get in sync, to get in alignment with what Allah has ordered throughout this creation, we like to start our class. Like to start our class with uh, putting ourselves in the right frame of mind, the right frame of heart, by uh, listing in our gratitude journal, or it doesn't matter, or if you just some note paper in front of you, you want to start by listing at least 10 things that you're grateful for. That helps join our sensitivities here as a class. If we were all just focused on the things that you have to be grateful for. We all have separate issues and problems and concerns, but when we focus on what we're grateful for, there's a tendency to join us, you know. And as our international instructor, Benjamin Bilal, sets the stage for what he's going to introduce to us today in the subject matter, the difference between a Muslim and a Mu'min, then it will behoove us as a class to be positioned to receive what Allah will deliver to us through him. So this is important. If you have not done so yet, please list the 10 things that you're grateful for. If you don't have the time or the materials, which you should have, this is a class, so you should have your study materials, your class materials. You should have something, pen, pencil, paper, uh, so that you can make notes as we engage this material. And we're being blessed, understand that what we have before us and in front of us is nothing less than the most important thing that's happening throughout the world today, and that's the information that will guide us from the source creator. Yeah. So make sure that you're engaged in it, you're making note of it, so that later you can go back and internalize it and make it part of, own it and make it a part of your own life experience. We have uh, one of our class members that's going to be sharing with you, uh, and again, in preparation for the expectation I know that I certainly have for what's going to be delivered to us through our international instructor, Benjamin Bilal, which will be coming up shortly. Uh, in our last class, as you all recall, at the very end of it, our international instructor invited a couple of our class members to prepare for a presentation, and I saw Baina a moment ago. And if she's ready, we certainly want to give her the time that she needs to share with the rest of the class members what the thoughts that she's prepared for us. And if not, we will go ahead and proceed. So, Bayina, I see you're there. Just chime in and let us know if you.
Okay, Salaam alaikum. I'm sorry. I'm a
Oh,
little nervous. Hi,
no,
Salaam alaikum, everyone.
just
Woo.
just relax. Your mom, your mom,
Okay.
your mom family. You're with family. We love you. You know.
Okay.
All right.
Um, okay, for those who don't know me, let me just say, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. I'm grateful to Allah for allowing me the opportunity to speak to the learners and instructors of the Nunetics Institute. My name is Bayina Patricia A. Hamid. I'm classified as a senior executive instructor for the Nunetics Institute. And my presentation or topic for today is about I'm going to do another presentation at another time on the letter Fa. But today, I'm doing fitrata, nature, or fitra, the pattern, fitra, nunetics, human psychology. And I just want to say there is an ongoing debate, ideas of concern, which are central to the conflict between rationalists who believe certain ideas exist independently of experience and empiricists who believe knowledge is derived from experience. Allah has shown us generosity because Allah has bestowed upon humans the capacity to learn and acquire knowledge. Knowledge should be viewed as a divine gift, and it's meant to be utilized for the betterment of individuals and society. Allah speaks to us about the pen, which we use to write, and writing is regarded as a method through which knowledge is preserved and transmitted. The question, what is the concept of fitra? According to the Quran, the fitra, or primal nature, mentioned in the Quran in Surah 30:30, Room 30:30, refers to the inherent and natural recognition of the oneness of Allah that exists within every human being. This recognition represents the essence of what it means to be human in the Islamic tradition. And international instructor Benjamin Bilal has explained to nunetics learners that it really represents patterns established by Allah throughout all of creation. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us again and again in the Holy Quran that there's nothing in the world which I have not stated and discussed in this great book, and Surah 34, Ayat 3. So it can be stated that the Holy Quran is the ultimate source of knowledge. Now, ratafa, fatara, means to create out of nothing, to cleave, split, crack, break, be broken into pieces, cleave asunder, begin to create. Fitra is a natural disposition, a constitution with which a child is created. It is a faculty of knowing Allah, God, and the source creator. Let's say the source creator, and the capacity and the capability of accepting the religion of truth. The meaning of the Arabic words fatir, creator, is one of the names of Allah. Futur, crack and flaw, and munfatarun, split one, cloven one rent asunder. Reference back to fitra and the room 30:30. Now, fitra is a natural, sublime, and true nature of created things, entity, a thing, or matter, including human beings, of course, ordained by the Almighty Creator. That is inherently and intrinsically Islam, to completely and unconditionally submit to or conform to the wise and flawless design of the Almighty Creator and none else, according to Dr. Mubarak Ali. I did have a short video, but I don't have access to my computer today. I always have these trials. That's what I was trying to explain in the last class we had, that I'm bombarded with obstacles getting in my way. But in the Quran, Allah starts a surah with all praises to is due Allah. To Allah is due to Allah, the great excellence, creator of the heavens and the earth, who made the angels, messengers, having wings, 2, 3, or 4, according to the Quran, Surah 35, Ayat 1. Allah Al-Fatir teaches us beautiful lessons we can learn from this chapter. And Surah Fatir, He Azza wa Jalla opens strongly, stating it is He who is the creator of the heavens and the earth, and therefore both praise and thanks belong to Him. Further in the surah, Allah says, we gave the book as an inheritance to those whom we choose from among our servants. Among them is the one who wrongs himself, and among them is also the one who takes a middle course, and of them is the one who is foremost in virtuous deeds. By Allah's permission, this is a great excellence. That's according to Quran, Surah 35, Ayat 32. Here, Al-Fatir explains to us how, of all of the creation, He chose a selection to be blessed with belief in Him, with Al-Islam. He then describes how we can classify ourselves into 3 groups, all of which are among the believers. Al-Hassan Abasari explained, the wrongful one is the one whose ill deeds have taken his good deeds. The foremost one is the one whose good deeds have overtaken his ill deeds. And the middle course one is the one whose good deeds and ill deeds are equivalent. This teaches us that true success or excellence lies not in materialism, but in your good deeds outweighing your bad deeds. I have references for all of the things that I'm speaking to you about. That particular one is from understandingthequran.com. You can go there. Now, my personal explanation of the fitra or nature, the fitra, nature provides the mind with the tools to use for recognizing patterns. Patterns recorded in the mind are representations of reality, not reality itself, because the only reality is Allah. That's according to Bayina Patricia Hamid. So, fitra, nature, according to the Quran, Allah says in 30:30, so be steadfast in faith in all uprightness, O Prophet. The natural way of Allah, which Allah has instilled in all people, let there be no change in this creation of Allah. That is the straight way, but most people do not know. Quran, room 30:30. And maybe at another time, I'm going to stop here. At another time, I will go into the consequences of not obeying Allah when it comes to the fitra. Thank you so much.
Praise be to Allah. And thank you. This is beautiful that Baina, she's been kind of hesitating in the past. But praise be to Allah. It takes a lot,
I don't
to
like to be seen. I don't like to be out front. When you're out front, people can take pot shots at you. It's easy to
know
shoot
that
somebody if they're out front.
see,
And I just rather just share from behind closed doors. Okay, thank you.
alhamdulillah, just think, we as your fellow learners and instructors, we all have to uh, step into our uh, zone of discomfort. Just think about the newborn baby. You're that feminine energy coming forth. A newborn baby, it's just it's when it gets to the point where it's time for it to walk, it'll get up and fall and get up and fall and get up and fall and get up and fall. Before you know it, it's crawling and walking and running all over the place. So we just got to, as the instructor always indicates, we got to come on into the water. Water's fine. We just got to come on in,
Well,
and
inshallah, I hope I shared something that everyone could benefit from today.
you did
Inshallah.
excellent. You did
Thank you so
excellent.
much.
No, you did excellent. You know, and I pray that your stepping out will encourage other instructors to do the same thing. All right. And we again, it's that's where that trust comes in, and trust comes in, yeah, by your stepping out and falling and getting back up. You say, oh wow.
Well, I know how to produce PowerPoints and all of that. I just have to calm down a little more, I guess. And I'm going
Because
to produce my PowerPoints on. I actually have PowerPoints already done on the nunetics method and letters. So, inshallah, I'll maybe expand on fat on fa next time, inshallah.
you did
Okay,
great.
thank you.
You did great. You did great. And
Assalamu
oh,
alaikum.
and now we won't have time to move around like we've done
Okay.
in the past. I think instructor's ready to go ahead and
Okay.
take this walking stick and
Okay.
yeah, and run with it. Unless he wants to change that, but we all again, you're a shining example of what we can do. Listen, we all have to just step out and trust, just like the newborn baby does. Step out and trust, step out and trust. So you did fine. You did good. You did good. Praise be to Allah. And the more we all will do that, the more Allah is going to bless us collectively to be able to share with the world. The world needs us. The world needs each and every one of us, and each one of us has a uniqueness that no one else has. You know, and so no one can share what Allah is sharing through you with the rest of the world, and the rest of the world, the global community, needs each and every one of us. And so the way,
Thank you so much for that, Brother Persevere. Thank you.
yes, this is important. What you have to share is important.
So everyone just make sure that you keep your phones closed so I don't have to stop for any unnecessary reasons. And we have a lot to present to you today in a short amount of time. I don't plan on keeping you here all day long. It's already 3:40. And fortunately, I prepared a shorter presentation today. Let me go get my notes and let's get this linguistic party started. Stand by. So we begin as always with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and that is with the signature of Allah, who is the source creator. He's not one of the force creators. He is the source creator responsible for anybody or anything else that believes it's a force creator or that believes it's a source creator. There is no source creator except for Allah. La ilaha illallah is expressing that very thought, and that should be the Muslim's focal point, that there is nothing worthy of our devotional nature except for the creator of that nature, and that would be the one who is called Allah in the Quran. Nothing else is responsible for that reality, we may call it, what the Quran calls al-haq. There's nothing else and there's no one else in the creation that is responsible for our concentration on that supreme being, as they like to call him in English, but that's not a sufficient demarcation either to say he's a supreme being because he's not a being. There's no description that you can come up with in your human mind that could accurately describe the source creator. Even source creator is not a good description because he's more than just the creator. That's just one of his attributes. So how do you describe one who can be described 100 different ways, so to speak? You can't describe him. He is indescribable, as we like to say. Just taking time to let other people into class here. Glad we got a full house today. So we thank Allah for the wisdom that He has allowed us to come into and allowed us to utilize in order to explain these very lofty ideas that He has given to us in the Quran. We thank Allah for being able to have all of the faculties to be able to express ourselves, beginning with this human heart and extending to this human brain. If we didn't have one or the other or both operating in us, then it would be absolutely impossible for us to express this level of insight, which is not our insight. The very connections that we are making or that we believe we are making is as a result of what Allah does as the creator, as the one who is operating the system related to all systems of what we call ilm or knowledge. He is Rabbil Alameen. He is the Lord, the developer, the evolver of all systems of knowledge. Whether that system of knowledge is contained in a dust, a particle of dust, yeah, or whether it's contained in Saturn or Pluto or Mars or any of these other glorious planets in this hemisphere. Allah is the one responsible for it, and we thank that one for our existence. So let me say formally, Salam alaikum. I'm going to say a little bit about nunetics that most of you probably already know, but you may not know it in the way that I'm going to present it today. Nunetics is a linguistic science which details the meanings of Quranic Arabic words through the detailing of fitra-based Arabic letter sounds and meanings that are based on consonantal connections. That is where sounds are emitted from in, this should have been a word, but I was rushing. Give me one more. Where sounds are emitted in the mouth, yes. Understanding this, we can then arrive at a much more detailed analysis of what a word actually means by studying the nature-based attributes of the letter in question. There are 3 levels to this process. The first level is dealing with parts of the body. They are actually where letters come from. The second level is things in your environment which match those parts of the body in terms of what it is they do and how it is they do them. The third is abstract, meaning you can't put your hands on it. You can't touch it. You can only conceptualize it and then compare that conceptualization with that part of the body that you are describing. Just like we have the phrase in our English language, please come give me a hand. It doesn't mean necessarily your literal hand has to be taken off of your arm and given to me. That's not the hand that I'm looking for. That's nasty. That's that's creepy, as they would say. No, when we say give us a hand, we mean give us some support. So the human hand came to symbolize support. That's what we mean by abstract meanings. Hmm? If I say, listen, that guy's acting a little weird over there, keep your eye on him. You're not going to go over there and put your physical eye on the guy. You know, your mind knows. That's not the meaning that I'm searching for when I say keep your eye on him. I mean, pay attention to him. Don't let him get out of your view, right? So that's the abstract that we're talking about. If I say I'm going to give my child a tongue lashing when I get home, boy, oh boy, what he did in school today is just unreasonable. It's unseemly of him. So I'm going to have to give him a real tongue lashing. You go home and put your physical tongue on your child, you're going to jail. You're going straight to the pokey. You're going to go lick your son into good behavior. No, we know that doesn't make sense. But why don't we think like that when it comes to the reading of our scriptures? When our scripture says tongue, when the scripture says that the dog lolled out his tongue while he was with the youth in the cave, in our heads, we're thinking a physical dog and a physical tongue in a physical cave. But we're not realizing that if we do deeper contemplation, as the Quran asks us to do they not contemplate deeply Al-Quran? In contemplating deeply, we would know that this is not ordinary knowledge. This is not school taught knowledge. This is not knowledge that parents teach to their children and pass it down like that and say, this is what it is and this is all it is. It's what I told you it was. No, Allah builds levels of understanding into His Quran and into the previous scriptures. He has built level upon level upon level. Some scholars would say 7 levels of understanding with each ayah, with each instruction, with each sign that He has given to us in the Quran. He has built stratas of understanding. But we have to be paying attention, as Allah says, that He created ayat, instructing signs in the skies. He has created ayat in the earth. And then Allah says, and in you, there are instructing signs. But He says that most people don't, they're not even paying attention to that. So because most people are not paying attention to the fact that Allah has calculated His instructions into everything visible, everything that is capable of being sensed with these 5 basic senses. He's put instructions in all of them, but because He says that most people go on heedless, most people go on headless, you might as well say that's where your 5 senses are operating the most. In the head, you have your eyes, you have your ears, your nose, your mouth, and your sense of touch. All 5 of those. That's the only place on the body where you can find all 5 senses operating simultaneously. So when Allah says that most people are not paying attention, we know that's at least the eyes doing something, paying attention. Allah says most people go on heedless. That means that we're now left to have to trust those people who have been gifted by Allah with insight that we may not necessarily have because we are working a daily job, because we're under certain pressures that don't allow us to think deeply. We like to just, kind of put our feet into the shore of the ocean. But there are other people who are deep sea divers. So don't get mad at the deep sea divers because you can't go as deep into the water as they do. They're going deep into the water so that they can get more precious, whatever it is they're out there looking for, bigger fish. And when they bring that fish back, they're supposed to share it with you. So those of us who some of you might call scholars, I don't like that term for myself, but some of you call us scholars. We're not supposed to be involved in all of this scholarship and all of this research and all of this heavy lifting in terms of information just to bring it home and tell our wives about it or our children about it. No, we're supposed to come home and devise a way to put it in books and writings and presentations and literature and PowerPoint presentations for you. What we're coming out of the ocean with and could have possibly drowned in the pursuit of it is supposed to be for the public, is my point. All right. So those are the 3 levels that nunetics is dealing with. The parts of the body, number 1, various things in the environment, number 2, and abstract ideas, which correspond with those environmental and body parts. All right. So let us now introduce you to those parts of the mouth and their pronunciations using both the English and Arabic letter system. Again, most of you who are already students on this journey called the nunetics, you know this already, but it's a good reminder for you of what it is we're dealing with. And it's actually a great piece of information for people who do not have the nunetics book, who are not familiar with the technique of the nunetics method, how nunetics serves to give us these meanings for words that we've been discussing now for more than 2 or 3 years straight here on YouTube. So here we go. The first of those 7 areas of the mouth are the vowels, and those are breath sounds. Ah, eh, oh. Breath sounds. In English, we say A, E, I, O, U. All of them are open-mouthed sounds. which means that there's no part of the mouth that should be touching itself when you are pronouncing vowel sounds. They are, again, open-mouthed sounds. Ah, e, oo, o, ah. These are vowel sounds. In Arabic, the three basic vowels are what are called a fatha. Fatha, that's the open mouth, the sounds of the ah and the a. You have the kesra, which is the sound of the I, like in sit and bit and hit, which can be extended into a long kesra sound, which would then give you E instead of just I. You stretch it out so that it becomes E. If you stretch the fatha out, it begins as ah, but it can stretch into ah. See? Double note. Ah. You just hold it a little bit longer and change the vowel sound slightly, and your fatha becomes extended. Your kesra, pardon me, becomes extended, and the last vowel is called the dhamma, which gives you the sound, like put, should. Yeah. And if you extend that, then it becomes the ooh, the double O sound, ooh. So let's go over that one more time. For the fatha, you're going to have ah, like father, and you're going to have the extended fatha as you have in Fatiha. See, Fatiha, and also in Amir, Amir, that sound. In Kesra, or for Kesra, you're going to have the I sound, like Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. And Mustaqim is giving you the long version of the Kesra. Mustaqim, see that long, that elongation? But you also have Sirata alladina an'amta alayhim. Him, sound. That's just a single beat kesra. So you have the and you have the e. With the dhamma, you have the like in put, but you have the oo. That sound, the oo sound. Like the Egyptians say, medjool for, what is that? What fruit is that again? The fig. Yeah, the fig. Yeah. All right. The ooh sound. Okay. Then you have number two, the labial sounds. Labial sounds are any of the letters that utilize one or both of the lips. So that would be the B sound, B, the F sound, where the bottom lip connects, pardon me, yes, the bottom lip connects with the two top front teeth, F. You have the P sound in the English and other languages, Greek language, you have the P sound. Okay. You have the V sound, as in victory, and you have the W. When you say it to yourself, you'll feel where your lips are connecting in order to pronounce that letter. W. That's English, BFPVW. In Arabic, you have the ba sound, which should rightfully be pronounced bait, but the Arabic world of scholars have somehow reduced that bait to ba. You have the fa sound and you have the wow sound. Those are the three vowels in Arabic. And those are labials, lip sounds, or partial lip sounds. Fa is actually a partial lip sound. It's also a dental because your bottom lip, as I said, has to touch your top two front teeth in order to pronounce fa, fa. Number three, you have the guttural sounds, which are throat sounds. They include the hard C. By that in English, we're talking about words like cat. That's a hard C, cat, from the back of the throat. Cackle, those words that begin with C in English, but they are actually the K sound. But for some reason, in history, the English speakers chose to make that a hard C instead of just using the K, which is what I would have done. Just why are you giving me an extra letter? Well, I don't need this extra letter. There's really no such thing as a C. Not in any other language. There's the K, but there's no such thing as a C in other languages. Keep that in mind. So the C, you have the hard C, you have the guttural G, like you have in the word gorilla, gorilla. You have the H sound from the back of the throat, ha, ha. You have the J sound, which is a guttural also, j, because you have to really bring it from that part of the throat for pronunciation's sake. J, that hardness, that strain that you hear, that you feel in your throat, that's a guttural. You have the K, of course. You have the X, X, X. See, ek. You hear that back there? Ek. It's almost like spelling it E-C-K-S. X. Then you have the Y sound, and it's also a guttural when pronounced at the beginning or the end of a word. Yeah. Yeah, ayyuhalladhina amanu. That yeah coming from the back of the throat is also a guttural. And actually, I should have been using those for, let me just make a minor correction here. I was rushing to get to you, so I didn't really complete everything I wanted to say. But that Y in English is the Y that you have in the word key, okay? When it happens at the end of a word, or yodel, where it happens at the beginning of a word, it's a guttural. But in the Arabic language, here we go. That's what I meant to say. The Arabic language, the gutturals are the alif, as in Allah. If you notice, pay attention to your mouth and your throat. When you say Allah, you notice right before the sound comes out, you'll feel that guttural tension in the throat. Allah, Allah, almost like Ain, the next letter, because it actually is an Ain. Aleph, the scholars will tell you, is simply the chair for the Hamza, which is a miniature Ain that from the back of the throat, that strain that you get in the back of your throat. So we don't just say Allah, Allah. No, we say Allah, Allah from the back of the throat. Then you have the letter Ha. There are actually two Ha's in Arabic. One is the soft Ha, like you have at the end of Allah, that soft one. Allah, see? Then you have the heavy one that you have in Hayya, Hayya. Then you have the letter Kaf, which is the Arabic K, Kaf, like kafir. And then you have the Q sound in the word off. See? Off. Quran. That's a Q sound. That's the qaf. Quran. Some people say Quran, but that's just for English speaking purposes. If you're going to pronounce it the way it is supposed to be pronounced and the way it is supposed to sound, you're going to say from the Quran. So there's kaf, that's the K sound, and then there is off, the Q sound. El Qari'ah. You have the letter Jim, which is the J sound. Jim, and it should be pronounced like the J in the way that the French people pronounce J. You know, in English, we're so used to saying ja, ja, like jab him in the jaw, you know. But in Arabic, the Jim is actually smoother than that, and it's from that part of the guttural experience that gives us j, j, almost like Jean, that sound of J. Jean, not John, but Jean. Hajj. Keep that in mind. And then, of course, I just added the yeah. The yeah. Then number 4, we have the liquid letters, which are letters that you need to use your tongue in order to pronounce correctly. And there are essentially 2 letters in English and in Arabic that fit the liquid profile, and they are L. Pay attention to what your mouth is doing when you pronounce these. L. You pay attention to your tongue. What's your tongue doing? It's rising. L. And also with R, your tongue is rising also. The only difference is that when you pronounce the letter L, your tongue becomes sort of magnetized to your palate. When it rises, L, it becomes stuck at the top palate. Whereas R, your tongue is rising also, but it's flickering. It's not stuck there. So I like to say that L represents magnetism, and R, with its rotary sound, represents electricity. So the principles of magnetism and electricity are built into the pronunciation of these two respective letters. Isn't that wonderful? So in Arabic, of course, they are the lam and the ra. The lam and the ra. Number 5, we have the nasal letters, which is dealing with the cavity of the nose. Anything that has to do with the nose, sense of smell. On a higher level, it would be your intuition, where you say, I'm not, I smell something smells fishy here. You don't smell any fish. That's your intuition speaking. You didn't read that in a book. They didn't tell you that this is the situation, but there's something inside you. It's called instinct, intuition. See? So when you begin to figure things out for yourself without being told, that's intuition. My intuition is at work right now. I don't think we should go because I intuit danger if we do go. So you don't go and you find out the next day that there was a stabbing, a shooting, a riot or whatever. And you say, man, thank God for intuition. All right. That's the letters meme and nun, or M and N in English. Pronounced meme for the M, and of course nun for the N sound. The number 6, we have what are called dental letters, letters that you need your teeth in order to pronounce. They are the letters D and T in English. You'll notice that in order to pronounce D, your tongue has to touch the back of the 2 top front teeth. Let me say that again slower. In order to pronounce these 2 letters, actually, D and T, your tongue has to rise up and touch the back of the 2 top front teeth to say D and to say T. It has to do that also to pronounce these other dentals. Dal, this is in Arabic. Dal, ta, tha. See, although you're pronouncing tha as though there were no teeth. You know, when you grow old and you lose them, you say tha. There's the letter tau. You might hear that sound in some Asian languages. Tau, what tau? You know, Bruce Lee or somebody speaking to you, right? That tau. You have the letter thal, again, like there's missing teeth in the pronunciation. Thal, ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. Then you have Lord. That's a very heavy D sound, not like the rapper. This is our heavy D. Dod, like an ard for earth. You know, when you stomp your feet on the bare ground, it gives you that sound. Duh, duh. See, all of these sounds came out of nature. That's what's so precious about Quranic Arabiya. Allah is utilizing sounds in nature, in Mother Nature, that He created. And the last of the 7 are called the fricatives, and they are whistling sounds, as in when you pronounce the soft C that actually in English is an S. Circus. It has both of them, right? The soft one and the hard C. Circus. But they spell both of those C's as C's in English. So the soft C, which is actually the S. No other language does this. Substitutes in letters like that for no reason. There's no reason to do that. Just put what it is, like the Arabic letters do. Whatever it is, that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. You don't say in this word it's pronounced this way, but this same letter in that language or in that word is pronounced different. No, we don't do that. All right. So you have the Z, like zoo and zany. You have the SH sound, like sure, shoot, shot, shame, and you have the TH sound like the. Those are all fricatives because there's a whistling sound connected to them. In Arabic, we have sin. See, if you say it without the vowel attached, you'll hear the whistle. S, like a snake, which also begins with S. S. The letter sod, you hear the whistling sound also. The letter za or zay, as some people in Pakistan might pronounce it. Z, you hear it at the beginning. Just take the vowel off of it. Z. And then there is sh, sheen. Sh, it's whistling. And it's causing friction when it whistles. So they're called the fricatives. Now, let's get into the crux of today's discussion. Let us begin with the popular word salam, which all of us, even before we started to learn the deen itself, everybody knew salam. Yeah, we say peace, peace, brother, right? But salam is not just any peace. Salam is a comprehensive peace. It is when you have achieved serenity in all areas of your life and activities. To do this, this takes discipline. Discipline. Having regulations is what we're talking about. You must be following principles of logic, which affect not only your core concerns, the concerns that you have to grapple with every day, paying the bills, getting the children off to school and that kind of thing. Those are core concerns. You have to do those things almost every day, repeatedly. That's a discipline that you have to establish. And those disciplines are following principles of logic, what should be sequential in your life, getting up, taking care of your personal hygiene, coming down, maybe having something for breakfast or whatever. Those are what we're talking about when we talk about core concerns. But Salam also covers what are called your peripheral concerns. Now, what is the difference between your direct concerns, your core concerns, and your peripheral concerns? Peripheral is just a fancy word for the things that are not directly in front of you or not directly in sight, but things that are kind of off to the side, although you still know that they are present. When you're walking down the street, you may be looking straight ahead or looking for the bus in the distance, but you also know that there are cars flanking you on the right and the left side of yourself, right? You know that. You don't know, you can't draw them. If somebody gave you a pen and a pad and said, draw your peripheral vision, you can't do it because they're going too fast. They're not in direct line of view, but you know they're there. You know when they pass by. See? You know that there are stores and businesses and other people walking to and fro right around you, but they're not in the direct line of your vision. So that's the kind of peace Salam is representing also. It represents not only those things that you have right in front of you that you need to keep in lockstep with so that you don't run into something unnecessarily. The things that are flanking you, there's very little chance of you running into them accidentally. See? The street sign across the street. Very little chance unless you're drunk and you're having a really bad day with the alcohol. You're not going to stumble and cross a whole street and run into some peripheral street sign. You're not going to do that. You're just acknowledging that it's there. You know it's there. But you're concerned about what is basically right in front of you. Allah created your eyes like that to concentrate on what is directly in front of you. It's called direct vision. And all of the other stuff that you're catching from what they call the corners of your eye. I'm sure you've heard that expression. I saw her from the corner of I wasn't paying direct attention to her, but I caught someone over there and I felt like she was staring at me, but I caught it out of the corner of my eye. And whatever you catch from the corner of your eye, you are likely, more than likely, to turn your full attention in that direction. And when you turn your full attention to something, that thing expands. That's one of my favorite phrases. Whatever you pay attention to expands. So when you turn your full attention to that young lady who's looking at you and staring at you and smiling shyly at you, oh, now all of your attention is over there where she is, and that's when you might run into that stop sign. Moving right along. So peace, in terms of what salam means, is not what peace means in the English language. In the English language, peace is a reaction to war, to violence, to somebody doing something that you don't like or that you can't fight against. Yeah, there are people who would treat you certain ways, and there's basically nothing you can do about it. It's up to them to return to a peaceful resignation, not you. It's up to them. That's what peace is in the English language. But in the Arabic language, salam is not reactive. This is a beautiful lesson that you can teach to your children. The idea of salam, which is built into the word Muslim, you hear it, Muslim, salam, Islam, that peace is not a reactive peace. You don't become this peace because somebody's messing with you. You don't become this peace because there's a need to settle down and stop fighting. No, that's what peace is in English. Peace in Arabia or in Arabic is not reactive like that. It is actually causative. That means that it is the first thing you do. It's not the last thing you do. It's not a reaction to something that you need to do. It's not a reaction to something that somebody else did to you. That's why Allah phrases it as salam alaikum. See, this peace is supposed to be upon you. What do you mean upon you, instructor? It's supposed to be an obligation that you consciously choose to follow.
Pardon me, brother instructor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you broke up for about maybe about 5-6 seconds.
Okay, pardon me for that. There's something going on in the
Yeah,
air. I don't know what it
yeah. So
is.
if you could back up, because it kind of broke the flow.
Okay, now this may be on your side that that's happening, so be aware of that also. But I'll repeat what
Okay,
I said. I'll repeat some of the last things that I said.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
let me just ask William, are you hearing the same thing he's hearing?
Yeah, you did break up, Imam.
Okay. All right. So let me go back a step so that you'll get this. And plus, if I do miss something, it's okay because most of what I need to say is going to be on the page. But let me just explain it in the way that I explained it. The peace that salam represents is not a reaction to something. It is causative. It is causing things. When you say salam alaikum to somebody, that's a very precious greeting that Allah has given us. And it's not asking you to wait until somebody starts bugging you or messing with you or being violent with you or a family member for you to get involved. It's something that when you come out in the morning, when you wake up from your rest, your mind is already situated for salam. You wake up as a Muslim. You don't wake up as a warmonger. You don't wake up as an extortionist or, you know, something crazy that people don't like when you are like that. People don't like you when you're like that. So peace is not going to be a secondary thing. It's going to be your natural disposition as soon as your day begins. And again, this takes discipline to discipline your mind and your spirit enough so that you wake up peaceful, and you wake up so peaceful that it becomes contagious. It becomes causative. You begin to cause other people to just slow down and think about what they're doing or what they're saying. And they realize, why am I riffing with this guy like this when he's being so peaceful with me? That's how the Muslim is supposed to be. That's how you are supposed to engage other human beings. You don't wait for them to show you their Deen card before you do this. You don't wait for them to show you, I'm a Christian or I'm a Buddhist or I'm a Confucianism guy or Zoroastrian. And so you need to naturally be of the disposition that we are at war with each other because you have a different Deen than I have. That's not what the Muslim is. The Muslim is the one who begins his and her day in this disposition. And peace, listen to this carefully, and I hope you can hear this, Muhammad and others. Peace is a frequency. I hope y'all caught that. Peace is a natural frequency. Let me prove it to you. Now, you have to be interested in studying biology and other sciences in order to accurately understand what it is I'm saying right now. You have to be the kind of person who likes to study how life comes into view, how life comes into being. And if you know anything about what is called the gestation, meaning after the sperm hits the ovum and it creates a unit, and a unity in the womb, and how that life begins to grow and evolve by becoming more involved in matter. Hmm? Yeah. You go from becoming a week old in 2 weeks, and then they go by week, 6 weeks, this happens. And then by the eighth week, something else is happening. And then by this time, you're growing pretty much in leaps and bounds. You can see the stomach expanding right before you if it's your wife or your daughter or somebody and they're pregnant. You can see what's going on from the outside, but you really can't see the true dynamics of that growth and development by looking from the outside. You have to be able to get that sophisticated glass that they call the microscope or whatever they're calling it. Yeah, I think is it a microscope that they use then? Yeah, some kind of what's the name of that powerful microscope? And that's not even the one I'm thinking about because they're doing
A sonogram.
yeah, they're doing a sonogram. Yeah, thank you. They're doing a sonogram. And a sonogram is a sound sonar, S-O-N, that's sound for the sonogram. But there's another one now, I forget the name of it, that actually shows you the picture. All of us know that. They can take that scope and go into the mother's on the outside of the mother, but it goes right through the skin. You see right through the skin.
The ultrasound.
Ultra, there you go. Ultra. I love the ultra. Yeah. We're learning ultra language right now. It's just bypassing the skin covering altogether and showing you what's in the letter, you know. Yeah. So yeah, the ultrasound. These are wonderful words that we need to remember. So when you're looking at that development in the womb, where in that process do you see any fighting or arguing or tussling back and forth, or where it seems like the growth in the mother's belly is contesting its existence, not wanting to fulfill its term? No, you can barely register if the life is actually moving at all in the belly of the mother. You have to keep, even the mother knows from time to time she shakes her belly to make sure nothing bad happened while the baby was in the womb. She said, I don't know, he hasn't been kicking me today. He's been what? Peaceful. See, the peace that is salam is that peace, the beginning peace that doesn't depend on other things making it peaceful or asking it to be calm. No, it's naturally peaceful. I have another lecture on this that you might want to go into the archives for. I think it's called The Three Levels of Peace. William can probably concur with that or confirm that. The Three Levels of Peace, I think it's called. It was a I think it was a three-part lecture where I was making these kinds of cogent connections. Now, that's the peace. That's the salam that the Quran is speaking to. It is what you might call the default setting of that life form. The default, meaning when nothing else is bothering it, this is how it acts. I'm not talking about after it has become agitated. I'm not talking about after you go to grade school and you go to class for the first time and some big bully is there to mess with you and try to take your lunch money. That's not the peace that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a default setting in human nature. It's actually in all natures. It's in all biologies. And it is what is going on in the outside environment when that life form is born into that environment that creates something different. What do they say? Our prophet said, as a saying, that everyone is born upon the fitra, ala al-fitra, upon the fitra. And it is his environment that makes it something else, something different than what the fitra is dictating as a default setting for that life form. That's me adding, of course, to that saying, but it's the natural and logical extension of what they say Muhammad said. So we're born peaceful. Look up when you go out at night and see where the disturbances are. Not that there aren't any disturbances, not that there aren't any falling stars, as they call them, but you don't see Jupiter running into Mars up there. You don't see Saturn running into Pluto. You don't see this kind of disturbance in the heavens. As the Bible says, on earth, that's the prayer, on earth as it is in heaven. That's the prayer of those righteous Christians, that there be peace on earth as there is in heaven. And when you look up again, you don't see warfare. You don't see people stealing and robbing and bludgeoning each other to death. You don't see planets doing that to each other. So if the planets can do that and stay in perfect alignment, and that's what keeps them rotating in the skies for how many years have the other planets? About billions, trillions, we don't even know. But we do know that there is no extended violence in the heavens, not in an extended way that our eyes can detect. So that's the piece that we're talking about. And I hope all of that was caught on this video. Yeah, it'll be caught on my side. So by the time you receive the replay, whatever you might have missed, you'll hear it in the replay. Peace is causative. So you should leave the house in the morning if you want to be a good Muslim. You should leave the house in the morning asking yourself, what can I do to extend this causative principle that I'm calling peace and peacemaker? That's actually what a Muslim is also. We'll get into that in a moment. A Muslim is what the Bible calls a peacemaker, not a peace responder, a peace initiator, a peacemaker. They're looking for situations in the environment that they can contribute to that will bring that situation back to peaceful resignation. And that's the resignation that Allah desires. Peace. Now let's look at this word Muslim. Pay careful attention to this next part. I capitalize the consonants that this word Muslim derives from. So that would be the S, the L, and the M. The MU in Muslim is not a part of the original word. This is a prefix. And when you see the prefix MU on a word in the Quran, it means one who does something. And that one who is generally referring to a living being, a human. Not always, but on the most part. So Muslim is one who practices this principle of salam, or the piece we just got finished discussing, the native default setting for all creatures, but particularly the human creature. The biggest and the baddest of the creatures. The ones that you think are so ugly sometimes. Oh, that animal it just looks so, it's ugly. But look at it when it's in gestation and when it is first born. It's not doing anything nefarious. It's not doing anything crooked, or even if it's born what we think to be ugly. There's some fish in the ocean that are so hideous to look at that Allah let them be born, hundreds of feet beneath the surface of the water. And one of them has a flashlight, literally a flashlight protruding out of its head so that they can see its way in the deep, dark depths of the ocean. Allah said, I ain't even gonna let this one come to the surface. He might scare people too much. Fish, hideous look. But I bet when that fish was born out of that fish egg, it was just the cutest little thing. Even though in our heads, just like with some babies that are born, we say, little cute baby. I mean, you know the baby's ugly in your estimation, not in Allah's estimation. In your estimation, that baby is a hideous. I've heard people talking about a little bald head baby with the big head. People talk about babies, and you overhear them saying these things. Okay, my baby wasn't born that hideous. Yeah, because you're judging with what they call jaundiced eyes. That be. Yeah, I got jokes. I bring you humor to keep it human. That's my job. Life ain't all the serious thing that they've taught you it is, to the point where your life becomes frozen, because everywhere you turn, there's wrongdoing and there's all kinds of untenable behaviors around you. So you let that, see, that's what I mean. If salam becomes your focal point, if it becomes your default setting, you won't be miserable in this world, no matter how many miserable things are being done around you. Not if salam becomes the default setting. You will, I promise you, I'm living that life and getting good business taken care of at the same time and keeping all my enemies at bay. I don't have to hate them. I don't have to put literally, physically push them away from me. My frequencies push them away from me. My language pushes them away from me. The things I decide to talk about in the crowd of people who are talking about nothing, it either pushes them away from me or it causes them to become open enough to ask me questions about what I'm saying, because they're not familiar with this language. They're not familiar with these concepts. So you're doing the world a service as a Muslim, a peacemaker, one who is able to gravitate. What's the word? No, not gravitate. Magnetize. Yeah, think about that as a question for yourself. When I go out and I'm out and about, do I magnetize? If I'm magnetizing people to me, and most of the time those are negative people, there's something in you that you need to deal with. I'm not saying you're a bad person in terms of morals. I'm saying that you're emitting frequencies that are attracting the wrong substance, attracting the wrong vibes. And somebody like I am, or like William, or somebody else, of the people that I'm dealing with almost on a daily basis now, they know what to do and say that will magnetize the right effects in their direction towards them. And those effects that you're magnetizing are going to be your angels. You think you know what an angel is. What you might not know is that angels come in human forms also. They're not some invisible cherubs with wings popping out of their backs and no diapers on their butt. That's not what I guess an angel in somebody else's mythology. That's not what an angel is in the Quran. They are disciplined. They are strict in cooperation with what Allah has asked them to do, designed them to do. But those angels, as I said, also exist within the human form. Alhamdulillah. All right. Now, mu means one who, mostly referring to biological life forms, but not always. When we go to a masjid, we walk into what's called a musalla. A musalla. And people think that if there's an open space where they can make the physical ritual called salat, that they are in the musalla. But what they're not realizing is that the very fact that it is called a musalla means something living is supposed to be there. Some energy, some frequency, something is supposed to be there that is living and breathing and growing and evolving. That's what the MU represents in Arabic. A living being. Now, I hope y'all are learning. This is important information. So let's start with the letter sin, the S sound, one of the S sounds in Arabic. The other is Sod, but we're dealing with sin right now. As an essential part of the word Muslim, Musalam. Sin represents things that cover over and protect, like your skin covers over and protects your bones, your blood, your nervous system, your organs. All of these things are power packed inside the physical body, but what is covering and protecting all of that is called your skin. And even in English, it begins with S, doesn't it? It's covering over and protecting. Think about those two things. Say them over and over to yourself as you go about your day. My skin covers over and protects. Even if I have a fluid like a baby oil or boy, no, let's get away from the baby oil. like like Vaseline. Yeah, with the baby, sometimes, sometimes mothers overdo it and they put Vaseline all over the baby's body until the baby looks like he might slide out of your arms if they put the baby in your arms, right? The baby's so oily, so greasy. You see those S's in grease? Yeah. But we just want the baby to smell good and to look good, to be shiny like we used to be, before we had all of these problems come into our lives. We used to walk out the house shiny also. You know who else used to walk out the house? This is an aside, but it's interesting. Back in the days of the Nation of Islam, boy, oh boy, the public knew to comment on and appreciate what they saw in this brother or sister who was a member of Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam, because they would always talk about what? The way that person would shine. And I'm talking about a person who is shining, who might have been on hard drugs for the past 10 years and dusty faced when they found him in the gutter and stuck a Muhammad Speaks up under his arm while he was drooling out of it. And all of a sudden he goes through the Elijah Muhammad experience. That's why I don't let these people from other places try to tell you about what Islam is and should be as rituals, a bunch of rituals that they want you to follow, and how the nation is just a bunch of kufar, just a bunch of kufr. The teachings are kufr. Yeah, they were, but you got to remember something about being a kafir. You have to be doing it consciously. There's no such thing as an unconscious kafir. If that is true, then you have to say that Muhammad the Prophet began his career before becoming prophet, that he was a kafir. He was worshiping a lot of the same stuff that his people were worshiping and doing. Not the worst of it, but he surely was in there when it came to, doing what the average one was doing, including referring to Allah by a pagan pronunciation of the word Allah. Allah. How do we know that? Because his daddy's name was Muhammad, was Ibn, he was Muhammad the Prophet, pardon me, was called Ibn Abdullah. Where did he get that Abdullah if the revelation hadn't yet come? Who told him about being a servant of Allah? The pagan Arabs, who had a pronunciation for God that was Allah. But if you notice, the subtle difference is that the Quran calls that supreme one Allah. You have to cut it. No extended vowel. Allah. Whereas the pagan Arabs were calling that creator, who was just one amongst 365. He was the leading one, but nevertheless, he was one of the 300. He was over the 365, and they called him Allah. And he had partners. He had 365 sources of assistance. The rain god, the sunshine god, the vegetation god, the river god, the mountain god. They had all kinds of gods. Can you imagine 300 and I can't even cover all of them. 306. I don't even think I've seen a list of the 360 some odd gods that these ancient pagan Arabs had. So that was what we are now referring to. I'm going to ask you guys to stop sending me notes. They're disturbing my thing. We'll open up for questions at the end, so just hold on to them. Yeah, or I should say, just put them in the notes anyway, so I'll see them when I close out, but I'm not going to stop and respond to them while I'm teaching. Thank you, though. And that's right. Yeah, what you just said was right. We'll go back to that, though. All right. Okay. So, and I'll say this now because we're on that subject that Hutz just reminded me of. He said Farrakhan is a Shriner. He's at least a Freemason. I believe that Elijah Muhammad was a Freemason. That's my personal belief. I've seen enough evidence in how he stands, how he holds the Quran. He never holds the Quran in his right hand. If you ever see Elijah Muhammad in a picture, just Google images of Elijah Muhammad and look for ones where he's holding a Quran. It's always in his left hand or under his left armpit. That means something in Freemasonry. You're going to find his feet pivoted in a V formation. People don't normally stand like that. That's not the way the average human being stands. That's a Masonic stand, which can be proven in no amount of time. So yeah, I believe he was a Freemason. I don't know. I can't say how much of what he was doing was conscious um, separation from what the Quran was. I do know that he didn't know the Quran to speak on it in that manner. He didn't teach from the Quran. He was teaching from the Christian Bible. So I have to leave it to Allah to forgive him or whatever he's going to do with Elijah and Farrakh. I got to leave it to Allah to do that. But I do know there's too much more knowledge in the world now for Farrakhan to have an excuse. I'm going to leave that alone. Doesn't make them my enemy. But I can't depend on them to become my ultimate and absolute friend. Not in the battle for good and righteousness. They have a different parameter for what's good and what's righteous than I do. Mine's is comprehensive. Theirs is black man and black woman. That's not comprehensive. If I'm going to be a Muslim and a Muslim believes in comprehensive peace, like I just told you, or I'm about to tell you if I didn't tell you already, my peace has to stretch out to people beyond black people. In fact, if I'm only including black people, I can't even include all of my people that I call black people. Because black for us is not across the board. I got people light enough in my family. They're lighter than some white people that I know. Lighter than some Middle Eastern people that I know. I know some Pakistanis that'll make them look like they're from deep sea Georgia, as far as their skin complexion. So this artificial imitation description of human beings is what I'm talking against. And if you understand what I'm saying, listening to me in 2024 going into 25 about this skin color game that's been played now for hundreds of years on this planet, and you understand what I'm saying, then you're on the other side. You are a kafir. You are one who is covering. You are one that is obscuring the vision of people for personal profit. And not the Prophet, the Profit. So no, I can't befriend and get with and placate and play patsy and all of that with those people who still believe that. Moving right along. So seen, that which covers over and protects, like your skin. All right, Hoots, I don't need any more messages from you, okay? Don't do it. Just save it, put it on a piece of paper, and when I'm getting ready to open up for questions, send it because it keeps popping up on my screen, and it's a disturbance right now. All right. Seen, the letter, represents your bottom lip, just like you can pull your lip down from the bottom and cover over whatever is, your little tuft of hair or whatever, is right beneath your bottom lip. Yeah, it can cover over that if you pull it down or allow it to droop. You can do that to your eyelids. You can pull your eyelids down. I remember people in elementary school used to do that to us. They'd come into the classroom and you had some of the guys who knew how to push their finger into the top of the eyelid and the eyelid would just droop down over the eyeball and it would be horrific. Man, they scared me to death. They'd walk around the whole day messing with the girls and all of that. And those of us who were a little squeamish by just going around with these eyes that looked like they were from some other world. Because the eyelids themselves, if you're trying to get a piece of hair or something out of them, you might have to just pull the lid down over the eyeball. until the problem has been resolved. So that's seen also. Now you might say, but instructor, you told us that seen represented like the sun. Hey, I'm about to get to that. It also means to shroud a thing, meaning you're covering it over. It means things that surround you. Like if you're in the Colosseum and the walls are surrounding you, they are doing what? They are protecting you. So those things that protect you in that manner, they're also under the letter seen. Now, what is it about the sun shining that also represents the letter sheen? Because the sunshine is actually covering over you, that part of the earth actually, and protecting you. The sun and its light protects us. It does what is called sanitize. You hear that? Sun, seen, sanitizes the planet. And it's protecting you. The sun is protecting you. And if you're out there too long, it's going to harm you. So it can do both. It gives you the vitamin D that you need. I think it's vitamin D, right? That the sunshine gives you. Helps you to grow. Helps you to become vital, strong, resistant to diseases, many diseases. They even said at the beginning of the COVID thing that they put on us, they say that if you're in the weather that is 70 degrees and over, the COVID can't touch you. This is what they said at the beginning of the epidemic that you call pandemic, that I call scamdemic. That if it's over 70 degrees, that the virus cannot exist in that level of heat. So there was a time at the beginning when they said, don't worry, if it's like you're in a place where it's 80 degrees every day and 85, 90 degrees every day or in that time of season or whatever, they said, don't worry about it. And then they flipped the script because they could make more money flipping the script and telling you, look out, no matter what it is, it can be 0 degrees, it can be 100 degrees. You're going to get it if you don't listen to me and get these products. Yeah. So no, it makes us diminish the importance of what Allah has created in order to solve many of our issues, especially related to health. So this letter seen represents things that diminish, that become smaller and smaller till they disappear, like diseases. It represents things that fall, and in order to fall, that's a vertical move from up high to down low. Now, as I keep talking, I want you to factor in these meanings when I'm talking about what a Muslim is supposed to be. A Muslim is one who can be high, high, high. He can be, she can be, they can be shining their light everywhere they go. They're looking for an opportunity to bring other people into this grand sense of peace. But a Muslim can also be all the way up here and then find him or herself way down here in no time at all. The very weight of your body jumping off of a tall building is going to accelerate your death. This is what we need to understand. A Muslim can be way up there and all of a sudden find him or herself way down here. It tells you that in the Quran. Listen to how it says it. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ. Listen for the S's. إِنسَانَ fi ahsani taqweem. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ. Listen to the S's. أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. What does سَافِلِينَ mean? Fall down to the lowest of the low. See? He's first, the highest of the high, so to speak. Fi ahsani taqweem. In the most excellent of organizational designs. That's how we begin our journey as true humans, as Muslims. But that same S can turn into a snake right before our eyes and bring us down to the lowest of the low. So it's not a whole lot to say that I'm a Muslim. Not in a comparative sense when you compare what a Muslim is with what a mu'min is to be. And we'll go into some of that meaning come next week at this time. Today we want to focus on the Muslim. Muslim can begin way up there with the best of intent, but if he's not watching the influences that are in and around him, he could end up in no time being a part of those things and those people and those experiences which represent the lowest of the low. That's why we don't worship people, because people can change. Your sheikh, your rabbi, your preacher, your priest, your monk, they're just humans that Allah created among the mortals. They can change depending on their outward circumstances and situations. Person grows from being very wealthy and comfortable. He loses that wealth in a short amount of time, and now he's got to go into, I gotta fool these people to get some more money mode. They do it all of the time in the churches and in the masjids. We need money. What scheme can I come up with to get us some more money? Now, it's not so much in the so-called immigrant masjids as it is in the African-American masjids, unfortunately, because we're the poorer people. We're the ones who have to sit in our offices and think of more devious ways to get this money from these people without them knowing that I'm paying my rent this way, or without them knowing that I'm paying some other people for the protection of this place that I don't want the members to know about. Because I'm in some gang territory. I'm paying gang members so that they won't mess with us and keep us in peace. I've heard of places like this. People think they're not getting hit because they are the big, bad, bold Muslims and no one would dare, trample on. No, that's not why. Because you pay them a monthly stipend to leave you alone. You got churches who do that. I saw that on a documentary. They have churches that pay gang members to protect them so that they won't be assaulted while they teach about the peace of Jesus the Christ inside the walls. So all of these things are related. To droop down, to experience a decline, as we said in that previous ayah, safala, thumma radadnahu asfala safilin. Thereafter, they are debased until they become the lowest of things considered low. Debased. You know what a base is? It's a four-cornered structure. Baseball, four bases. If someone debases you, they've taken away your four-corner structure. And if you attended this class long enough, you know what the four basic corners are in nature. Can anyone recite them to me very quickly?
Air,
Mm-hmm.
fire,
Yes.
water,
Mm-hmm.
land.
Great. Now, can you give them to me on the sociological level, beginning with air?
Government,
Great. Mhm.
yes, culture,
Great. Land. Yep.
education,
Yes. Fire.
and what was the other
Economic,
one?
What?
economics.
No. If somebody's on a roll, let him roll. Don't steal his joy. Don't steal his thunder. Let him
Yeah,
finish.
but I was lacking. He picked up the slack, so
No,
he knew
no,
I
no.
was
You need more than
okay.
3 seconds for me to say you can't get it. I know you know it. If you got those three, I know you got the fourth one lurking around the corner. But it's okay. I'm just trying to make sure we keep the proper respect. We're excited.
Is
See,
it?
that's what hold on. It's because we're excited about this language that we do that. But I still want us to keep a certain decorum and a certain discipline when we're speaking. Everybody understand that, right?
Apologize.
Yeah, no need to apologize. Just make the correction. We are people who make corrections while we're in flight. They call it course correction for a plane. A plane might realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm going the wrong direction. And he can right there in the middle of the sky, just shift his gears and end up in the right direction. That's what I want for us. And I want that for us because we're going to be dealing with presenting this information to so many people. I mean, it boggles the mind when I think about it. You might not realize it because you don't know how far you've come. But I want it so that when we start to teach people outside of this small group that gathers every week on YouTube, we're going to be teaching thousands of people in no manner of time. That's a prediction, so hold on to that. And when it starts to happen, I want you to be the first ones to say, Instructor, you told us this was going to happen, because I know the pattern. This is how nature propagates, and I'm not going to violate that pattern artificially by selling you, some product or something. You notice me, I really don't even push my books that heavily until I'm reminded. Let them know you have 24 books, Instructor. And a lot of what you're struggling to present to them is already in your books. So just point them to the books. And that's correct. But I'm not here to push books. I'm here to push human excellence. Keep that in mind.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, we're going to continue now. This is beautiful. Now, it can be a secret. A secret covers over people and protects them. A secret. Shh, don't tell this to anybody. Unless I know you're going to tell them or I asked you to tell them. Other than that, keep it a secret. And you don't violate that secret. So that's still the letter sin. That which is shielded. Then you have the letter lam. We've already done sin. Now we're going to do lam, the L sound. Lam on the body is the tongue, which is used for both eating and communicating. It is the organ responsible for proper communication. There are some people in history who have been the victim of cruel leadership that have actually removed their tongues from their mouths, and they cannot communicate on a human level. Their communication is awkward at best and non-existent at worst. They're just mutes. They can't speak. Their voices have been muted and muted out. So it's the tongue that's used for these two purposes. For eating, we know that when we smell food, forget seeing it and tasting it, as soon as we begin to smell this good cooking coming from grandma's oven and kitchen and stovetop with your boy, do you know that your saliva begins to go into effect right there? You haven't even seen the food yet, but you smell it, and your taste buds start to react. You begin to develop saliva. 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 As soon as you smell, sometimes you haven't even smelled the food. You're on your way to grandma's house for Thanksgiving and you're on your way. You're on the bus. You start, you can see it in your head. Oh, grandma's turkey leg, cranberry sauce. You see all of this. People wonder what's wrong with you. What's wrong with that guy at the back of the bus? Do we need to call the popo? Because just you thinking on that good tasting food makes your mouth water, as they say. See? Not to mention when you get there and you open that door and you that smell, another S word, that smell begins to assault you in a good way. Oh, there it goes. I knew grandma would be making that meal. Yeah. And then when you finally taste it with the tongue, you're taking something into your mouth that is making contact with your tongue, with your lamb, that makes you communicate a message outwardly to grandma. Oh, grandma, you did it again. Thank you. So that person used their tongue for the two purposes that it was intended. To experience something, taking it in, that's the first process. Just like when you're born, your intellect as it grows, is taking in information. And then later on is going to express what it knows after being taught. So the intellect also does what the physical tongue does in the fitra. You think you're going to get this teaching somewhere else out there in public school land or in even private school land? You're not going to get it like you're getting it here at the table of nunetics. This is the real table spread. Let's continue. So things that are loose, things that are relaxed, things that are floppy, limp, limber. The tongue can also be lazy. If I'm sitting here and I'm cussing and fussing and acting the fool, and my mother hears me, she's going to come and say, you better discipline that tongue, man. You don't talk those words around mama. But it was because I was being lazy with my tongue. I didn't want to, go through the work of having to find the right words. So, instead of explaining it to you intellectually, I just cut to the cuss words. And the cuss words are filling in blanks for things that don't need to be said. If I'm saying, well, that MF, and that he brought that B over to my house and that H, she did. I don't have to, if I took all of those words out, he'd still have a perfectly intelligible sentence. So why is he putting unnecessary cuss words in the sentence? Because we're trained that way. Fi asani taqweem, natural disposition. Thumma radadnahu asfala safilin, when the mind has begun to fall to its lowest ebb. And unnecessarily. You don't have to talk like that. Lam also refers to things that are extended, like ahl, meaning family. Things that are, we say about our families that we have extended families, talking about our cousins, and that kind of thing, aunties, uncles, these are our extended family members. And the word ahl has lam at the end of it, doesn't it? It represents things that are long, flexible, and flowing. That's how you get language that flows also, by having a flowing tongue, one that is able to capture the essence of language and pronunciation. And they call you cultured when you do that. Cultured, C-U-L, which comes from the Arabic word kul, Q-U-L, which means to say a thing. I'm saying something here, akul. And if you put the letter kaf, K, in the place of the qaf, Q, it means to eat. Means to eat. Isn't that something? If you put the Q there, it means to speak. If you exchange it for the K, it means to eat. Akala. So things that are long, flexible, and flowing, like labisa. Labisa, that means your clothes. When you come out in your best of the best of the best, and the wind hits it, and it begins to flow. Especially in the Middle Eastern parts of the planet, where they're not stuck on wearing uh, clinging garments like we are here in the West. In the West, even a man is walking out of his house in pants that are clinging to his body. His clothes, and now her clothes in the Western part of the world, they cling more to his body than even his skin does. Think about that. His skin is looser on his body than his pants or her blouse, which shows you every imprint of everything that ever happened in her female development or in his masculine development. He's got to show that to you, put it in your face when he comes out. Like, what is that guy? Jones, what's his name? What's that entertainer's name? His last name is Jones. Tom Jones. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Tom Jones. But the women used to watch him just because his pants were so tight. He up there doing the funky four corners and all these crazy dances. but people knew him for gyrating, that kind of thing. Even Michael Jackson, I mean, he's up there pushing his crotch into people's faces. Why? That's the way they've been taught by the culture. So the lamb, it represents those things that are supposed to be loose and flowing. Sometimes they say loose lips sink ships, but that's the lips. That's not the tongue. The tongue is not supposed to be loose as a default setting. The tongue is supposed to be disciplined as a foundational behavior for the tongue. Default setting. So to cleave, to lasso. You remember the oldest cowboys used to lasso the horse? To lash out, the tongue also does that. When the lasso is thrown around the horse's neck, it's for purposes of tying that horse up to a post that you have chosen. And people can do that with their tongues. They can do that with their language. Some people are clever enough to capture you with nothing but their words. Words make people. Lamb also represents things that are extended, like a shepherd's goad. Goad means something that pushes you in a particular direction. It's another word for the shepherd's staff that he holds in his hand. And it is used to both push and pull the sheep. The shepherd's stick. It's used to both push and pull the sheep in a particular direction. So if I have my shepherd's staff, which today would resemble the walking cane, you know what a cane looks like, I can hold the curved end of the cane. And by the way, this cane looks exactly like the Arabic letter lam. If you know what the Arabic letter lam means, and you turn it right side up because it's upside down, the way they give it, and you are holding it by the handle of the cane, the curved part of the cane, and you're extending the pointed end outward, then you are pointing to something or somewhere that you want your cattle or your sheep to begin going in the direction of. That's how the letter lam became also that which means in the direction of. Alhamdulillah, Allah. The praise goes in the direction of Allah. That little li is what's causing that meaning, because that's what it means. And it's the tongue that's giving you directions from the intellect. It's the intellect that's beckoning the tongue to say this in order to get the people who are listening to me to go in that direction. They're heading in the opposite direction. Now, after I give this lecture, they're going to be heading in a whole different direction, because my tongue is giving them directional information that's designed to deliver them to whatever goal, whatever area of concern that I dictate. So I can also use that stick called the goad to walk up to the sheep and push them in the direction that I want them to go in. When I say, pardon me, not push them, but pull them in this instance. I take the straight end in my hand, and then I put the hooked end around the neck of the sheep, and I pull the sheep away from danger, away from the area of concern that I'm not sure about. Don't go that way. You come with me this way. And once I can pull them away from the danger, then I can take that hooked end again in my hand and take the pointy end of the goad and point it in the direction of safety. So lamb also represents emergency, saving of things or animals or people even, and the pointing towards the direction that is safe for them to travel in, where I don't have to worry about them as much if they're in this open field. But if they start looking into the trees, man, I better go and stick this curved part of my hook around their necks, because there's a wolf over there. I know it. It happens every day when we're in this area. You didn't know that these letters were this deep, did you? Listen carefully. Lam is also the tongue, which communicates questions and answers. And these are instructions which can be extended, a meaning for lam, extended to others. Once the questions are answered for you, then you can answer other people's questions. So they are instructions which we extend to others. Lam also indicates taste, discretion. As a negative trait, it represents becoming bitter. Where is the taste of bitter? It's on a part of the tongue. I think the tongue has at least 5 different taste centers for determining sweet, salty, that kind of thing, bitter. Sometimes the tongue can become sarcastic. And sometimes we'll ask them, why are you being so salty? We ask people that, why are you being so salty with me? You're supposed to be sweet. I'm having a bad day. What that got to do with me, homie? I thought I was your man. So these are things that happen. And the way that we know mostly that these things are happening is because the tongue becomes bitter and sarcastic, and it begins to lambaste you. What a word. Lamb. See, tongue? Baste. Man, that's like putting something in the oven. When you're basting your turkey, he's in there sweating. He's in there getting heated up. He's being lambasted. When you lambaste somebody, boy, you putting them to the fire. You putting their feet to the fire. As a negative trait, it represents being bitter, sarcastic, lambasting, and biting. Words can bite you. The Quran speaks about the dog in the cave in Surah Al-Kahf, the dog that lolls out its tongue. But a dog does that for ventilation purposes, not for the reasons that humans yap, 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 bark, 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 bite, 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 bite. That's not what the dog is doing. The dog is lolling out its tongue for ventilation purposes. It's hot and it needs more oxygen. Therefore, lamb can represent the venting. See, it's doing it for ventilation purposes. Humans do it in order to vent. Lastly, and probably most importantly, the letter lam represents those things that are lifted. See that lam and lift? That are lifted up. Laqad begins that sentence with a lam. Laqad khalaqnal. L's all throughout that. Insana fi ahsani taqweem. Certainly, most assuredly, we have programmed the human being in the most excellent of organizational designs. Now, what lesson is in this as we conclude? The lesson that is in this is that there's a purpose to human creation. There's a reason for why Allah created us fi ahsani taqweem, in the most excellent of organizational designs, because Allah wants you to reach your fullest potential. Is your fullest potential to be down in the dirt and in the mud slinging, and the cussing and the fussing? Is that why Allah created this magnificent brain and stuck it in your human head? I don't think so. The challenge for humans is to take all of this organization that Allah put in this human structure, and there's no biological creature that's more organized in its structure than the human being. No matter what creature you pull out of the fitra, it's not going to be more organized and more excellent in its form and function than the human being. So that's your apex. That's what you're being lifted up to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're conscious of that. If you're not conscious of that, then you're just following your normal fitra-based default system of goodness. But we want that goodness to become excellent. See those L's in excellent? We want your goodness to become lofty, high, ala. See the lam in there? To become above, over and above. Alaikum. May peace be over and above you. So that which is lifted. Now, I didn't get a chance to work on the other meanings for memes, so we're going to save that for next week. I think you've got your fill for the day. When you fill something, it gets higher and higher and higher when you fill your glass, right? See the L's in there? Start looking for these things in everything that you read, and you don't have to wait until you learn Arabic. Start with the English that you know and that you can read, and look for where the L's are, and then report back to Instructor Bilal as to whether he was correct in saying that L, for most of the time you're reading it, means something that is higher, that goes higher and higher, that lifts. Start with the word logic. What is logic designed to do? I just told you. I spent an hour on it just now. What the lamb is doing. So that's what logic should be doing. What does learning do? See all these L's in the beginning of these English words? This is how I want you to start thinking about language. You can do it right from the comfort of your living room or your bedroom or whatever. Especially when you're reading the Quran or the Bible. Start looking for the words that they're using that begin with these important letters. But especially the Quran, because the Quran wasn't written in English. Intellect. You see those two L's? Intelligence. You see those L's in there? They have a meaning. They mean what I'm telling you, lamb means. Your intelligence can pull you out of danger. Your intelligence can push you in the direction of excellence. Excellence. Another set of L's. So we're going to stop the conversation there for now. And I'm going to open up for a few questions if you have them. And then we'll be through for today. I don't intend to do this for more than 10 minutes. It's 3:18 now. So if you have a question or had a question, let me look in the chat box first and see if people have questions. Yes, they do. So let's speak on those first before anybody else speaks. And then we'll see if anybody has any extemporaneous questions, as they would call them. And we thank Patricia Hameen once again for her presentation.
Thank you so much. I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead, please.
Allah tells us that we should distinguish ourselves from other religious faiths. How would you suggest that Muslim women distinguish themselves from other faiths if they don't cover with hijab or
Yeah, they do it
long
with
clothing,
they do it with their excellence.
their excellence?
The race in the Quran is towards all that is khair. That's the word. Strive is in a race towards all that is khair, not all that is khimar. No, some of the same letters, but not the same meaning. Allah is not asking us to race towards khimars and kufis. Allah is asking us to race towards human excellence. Khair means that which is better and more useful.
Yeah. I understand what you meant when you were talking about how you attract people to you because of your frequency, your vibrations. And my friends, they're not Muslim. They always tell me that I attract people to me, and I don't realize how much I attract people because of what I'm saying and my actions. I recently did a sleeping bag drive for the homeless people.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing thing. I'm going to do it again
Beautiful.
either tomorrow or Tuesday. It's getting to be really cold here. So I don't really like attracting attention to myself, but one of my younger sisters told me that even if you dress like a bag lady, you're still going to attract people to you. So I really actually went out and I did dress like a bag lady, and she was right. I still attracted people to me. I guess it's people like attracts. I guess I don't know, good vibes, whatever. But all right, thank you so much for that answer, Instructor Bilal.
You're welcome. I'm going to end that answer by saying this, and you should enjoy this. That yeah, like attracts. That's true. But like is neutral. See, everything in nature is neutral. Remember that lesson that I taught. Nothing in creation starts out good or bad. The goodness or badness of it depends on the context that is being given in. As you continue to grow, you move from just being a part of nature to being a part of those things that are nurtured. Nurturing is an internal process on the most part. Yeah, we're nurtured biologically and all of that, but that's still nature. Nature brings about puberty, and it's going to happen whether you like it or not. But how you develop during that period of puberty is going to be determined by how well nurtured you were, intellectually especially, sentimentally especially. How did your parents teach you? How did your teachers teach you? How did your friends influence you to be the kind of person that you are? That's nurturing. So concentrate on the nurturing part more than just the nature. The nature part is going to take care of itself. You're going to get hair on your face, Mr. Mustache, and female, you're going to grow little breasts and maybe sometimes big breasts, whatever, right? That's nature doing that. We don't determine that. That's genetically produced. So those things that you have no control of, why would you spend the rest of your life worrying about those things? I'm not talking to you necessarily. I'm talking to the world now. Why do we spend all time worrying about that? Well, because we got a wider nose than the other sisters, so we must be ugly. And because she's got aquiline features and lighter skin and good hair, it's stupid. We're judging ourselves by things that we couldn't control. Concentrate on the things that you can. I can control my weight. Let me concentrate on the things that Allah gave me some control over. I can control my mouth and what comes out of it. These are the things you'll be judged for. You're not going to be judged because of some complexion you have or some part of the world that you were born in. What about the people right now who are suffering in Gaza? Is Allah going to charge them with being in all of that ruckus out there? And you could have migrated. Some dumb Muslims like to talk like that. Quran says migrate. Okay. Give me my passport, please. And give me some food to sustain me until I can find a land that will accept me and set up a whole new kind of civilization for me and my family and people. Why don't you do that for me and help a brother out? You can't do it because some things are left to things outside of your particular situation and your ability to regulate it. So the Muslim in that case is to pay specific attention to those things that Allah gave him and her actual control over. If you can just eliminate out of your psyche those things that you know you don't have any control over, that's going to be a burden lifted off of you that you wouldn't believe. You feel like a new man and woman. Just getting rid of the things that you know I can't do anything about right now. Maybe later you can, but right now in this situation, in these circumstances, I can't do anything about that. Like somebody not liking you. Okay, they don't like you. So what? I can't do anything about that. That's her perception of me. Maybe I can just try and be better towards her or something like that, but that's in her head. I can't control that. Let me try to be a better human for my sake and for Allah's sake. That's what I mean by my sake. Allah's sake. For Allah's sake, I'm going to try to love you more. And that might be me talking to my wife and children. Because sometimes the idea of loving them and the proper love shown towards them, it falls off the table. We get used to these people, so we start to mistreat them because we see them every day, and we end up treating our friends better than we treat our wife or husband or family or children. That's what Allah's going to charge you with. How did you treat the ones that you?
Well,
How did you treat the ones
my
you
whole
could have been better
concept is
towards?
I'm only concerned with being pleasing to Allah. Because when I'm pleasing to Allah, everything falls into place. No matter, although I have a lot of trials and tribulations, like when I had to do my presentation today, something happened to my laptop. I just got my desktop back and couldn't get that. I couldn't remember the password. I don't know where I wrote it down at. And so I had to use two cell phones to do my presentations. I was just like, oh, but I got it done.
Yeah.
But concentrating on being pleasing to Allah, I think, is primary goal. That should be the primary goal of everyone because we're not in control. He is the one who allows.
You got it.
And I'm
Great.
just grateful. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
alhamdulillah, and thank you. And there's one part left to that you don't have to respond to. This is just in general, talking to people in general. That yeah, we realize that there are certain things that we can't do anything about, but what we're not realizing is how we magnetize certain negative things towards us. See, I'm not going to get up off of that because I know the psychology behind that. There's a how. We think that we are.
We all fall short, even though that's my desire to be pleasing to Allah.
My point is this. Again, this is not me flailing anybody, saying you're doing this all wrong and that's why you got problems in your life. All of us have problems. How those problems are attracted to us and what we do about the problems to eliminate those problems is what I'm speaking to right now. This is help for humanity, if you will, that I'm about to give. It's not directed towards any individual. It's directed towards humanity. Here's the help. We have more than one brain. For all intents and purposes, as much as I've spoken about the triune brain that all of you are now familiar with, the brain is actually a two-part brain consisting of a right hemisphere and a left hemisphere. Within those two, there is broken down what has been called the triune brain, the three-part brain. But understand this, the triune brain is still a two-part brain. And you have the cerebral cortex, the last layer of brain, operating on the top of the brain structure, the cerebral cortex, that's controlling your thinking and decision making. When you touch the top of your cranium, right beneath it, right beneath that skull, is a part of the brain that is responsible for thinking and reasoning, logical deduction, and conscious awareness. That's what that's responsible for. You being cognitive, conscious, knowing what's going on around you. Right beneath that, and that brain covers the whole top of the skull. From the front, you have what are called frontal lobes that are doing that, all of the way towards the back. That brain is covering all of that. But just beneath that brain is where the limbic brain is. And the limbic brain is the midbrain, and it's controlling emotions and short-term memory. Short-term memory in the limbic brain. So it's registering immediate things that happen. It registers that phone call that you were hoping didn't happen because you didn't want to have that conversation with that person or that bill collector. Those are sure. You can't remember in your head unless it was really terrifying the last time you got threatened, if you didn't pay a bill. Well, when was that? How many years ago? You don't even remember. But that major car crash that caused the loss of a loved one in your family, I remember that. I remember the date that my son had the car crash and died. I remember the date that my daughter, when she passed. I know the day, I know the time, I know what I was doing at the time. That's not your limbic brain that's remembering all of that and reacting emotionally to it. That's the back of the brain. See, that's the back of the brain. Temporal lobe, whatever they're going to call it. It's connected to your spine. So whenever you look at that picture of the brain, the skeletal structure of the brain leading down to the spine. Yeah, the spine and the spinal cord. Yeah, that Aleph picture. Remember I told you? It's Aleph. Okay? And it leads down to the spinal cord. That's a whole system that Allah built for us to be able to register impulses. So Allah gave us a lot to work with. So when we take in information, And we keep repeatedly bringing that information up, especially if it's not good information, especially if it's dealing with some hurtful situation in the past. That hurtful situation is not being necessarily registered in the limbic brain. It's being registered in that part of the brain that is connected directly to the spine and the central nervous system, which branches out like a tree. Huh? That's what's registering all of that hurt and pain and discomfort. So we have to devise a way to cut off the signal of that pain that's connected to your instinctive brain, that bottom brain. We have to develop a way, and there's already a way to do it. But people have to slow down their roll long enough to concentrate, meditate, and those other things that I said Salat represents. What did I say? Concentration, meditation, and contemplation. Yes, contemplation. Yeah, you got to be a master of that. That's your Salat. It's not a physical ritual alone. You can use a physical ritual to enhance it. The blood that flows to the pineal gland when you make sajda, yeah, all of that. But that's not what salat is, in fact. If you don't have any legs or any arms and you're sitting in a wheelchair somewhere, you can still do salat as Allah has ordered it in the Quran, because it has to do with something much more useful and accessible than what they've been teaching us in the schools of what they call Islam, forgetting that it should be al-Islam, the definitive submission, the definitive salam, the definitive comprehensive way. That's what salam means, as we just described it in the S, the L, and the M. It represents comprehensive. Even in the dictionary, the Lane's lexicon on the Arabic language, you look up salam, see what it tells you. It says to be complete. How many people see that? No, most of us will just say it means peace. Like, don't bother me. No, that's not what it means. The first definitions for it is wholeness, completion. And it's used that way in the Quran. It's wonderful when you understand it. So if you're going to be a Muslim, it means that you have to allow this default setting of peace and serenity. Serenity. It's from the word serene, which has SRN as consonants that match perfectly with the SLM in salam. R and L are interchangeable. M and N are interchangeable. So the word serene, which means peaceful, comfortable, it interchanges perfectly with the word salam. Salim. We got a brother here, right there. There you go. Salim. See? So you are in charge of your serenity. That's why you have monks who they can meditate. They don't care what's going on around them. Imam Muhammad said the same thing about Salat. He said it shouldn't matter what's going on around you. Children can be making noise. He said he no longer has to tell his wife, can you turn down the television or turn down the radio while I make my salat? You don't even have to do that anymore. He just goes ahead and he makes his ritual salat because there's something going on in his head that supersedes that is strong enough to just force that out of his cognition. We're actually going to be doing actual salat rites or routines before this semester is up. Yeah. So you'll know what it is. But the reason why I don't go directly to that particular subject is that I don't see in the Quran where I'm the one to reinforce it, to change your idea of what you think it is already. Just wipe that idea out and then bring him a new idea. I don't think that's the healthiest way to do that. And people
Well, while you're talking, while you're saying these things, it's in my mind is I think very abstractly, I guess, thinking about GMOs that are now being classified under a new title of bioengineering.
Yes.
You
And
know,
carcinogens
so
and carcinogens, right?
and people don't read labels, and they're looking for something to say GMO, but it actually it's not even saying that.
They
It's
changed the
going to be
label.
a BE now, BE.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
no, they're not going to. No,
Biologically engineered. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but the people are not reading labels, and I recently had an experience with some candy causing me to be short of breath, and I said, "Whoa, let me read this label." I
Mhm.
didn't think about reading chocolate, pecan, caramel custards having genetically modified stuff in it that causes me to lose my breath. I was getting ready to die, I thought, and sure enough, bioengineered substances,
Yeah.
because they're reducing it to such a small level that the USDA and the FDA are telling me they don't have to uh, classify it or list it on the label, and so we
That's
have to
right.
be very careful now. So I was just thinking that when you were talking about what you were saying, that's how
Perfect.
abstract my mind goes out like
That's a
that.
perfect connection. I love it. Yeah. Perfect
Indeed.
connection. We need to pay more attention. The Quran actually encourages us to pay attention to labels, when Allah says that He taught Adam the labels of all things. So yeah, you can translate it like that. He taught Adam asma, the names. Yusuf Ali eventually translated it as the natures of things, all things, kulli, all things. You see? So that means that we should be interested in the labelings of things when we go in the supermarket, when we go into the school system and they say this is this particular kind of education. This is whatever they call it, where they can, have the boys in the girls' bathroom and all of that. That's a part of their education. So what are you instructing them in when you allow your children to just walk willy-nilly into these environments and become taught by people who are not fully human?
True.
Now, I don't mean that in a disparaging way to talk bad about people, but what they're teaching you is not a part of the human program as designed by the source creator. You didn't design your 7-year-old to be in there looking at a 7-year-old girl's private parts as she goes to the bathroom, and they're going to fight over this politically and all of this stuff and call you funny names because you won't accept their lifestyle, which is really a death style. Instructor, how can you say it's a death style? That's just how some people live. No, if it's not a death style, take all of the people who believe that and just put them on a separate island. And let's see how long that civilization lasts, where men are not interested in men, where women are not interested in women. Let's see how long it lasts. I'll give them 20 years. Not even that's generous. Give those people about 7, 8 years. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm not speaking against people. I'm speaking against crazy ideas that are anti-fitra. That's all I'm doing. Okay, let me just, I think I was finished responding to Baina, but let me see what these other things are saying here. Okay, we spoke about the Farrakhan thing, the Shriner thing. I'm not going to speak about people who are being killed or taken out and that kind of thing. Talk about that separate. Uh, Good afternoon, Miss Peggy Muhammad. Good to see you. She said something about pig soy or piggy soil, which is a soybean that is 1/4 swine. Yeah, let me tell you something. I'm glad you brought that up because they have a technology in the world now, which is a biological um, genetic technology that can actually turn one species, listen to me carefully, into a totally different species. Here's the deal. They have genetic technology now that can turn a swine, a pig, into a fish, into a what's the name of those big fish that swim against the tide against the stream? Not sardines. What is those other fish?
Salmon.
Selma.
Salmon. Yes, salmon. See the SLM in salmon because they can swim against the stream. When we learn to swim against the stream, we'll be Muslim, like the salmon is Muslim. All the other fish going this way, downstream, being aided by gravity, and they get caught up in the net. Here you got the salmon going against the flow, going against the push. See, so he makes it to his destiny, so to speak. So that's that. But the point is that they've developed a technology again that can take us a pig and genetically modify it to where when it reaches your dinner plate, it looks exactly like salmon, tastes like salmon. But when you examine it genetically, it's going to have all of the properties that pig DNA carries. Now, if you
But they
don't,
can't do that with a human being. Because if you put a sperm and you artificially inseminate an egg, it's going to be missing something from the fitra that makes that baby a complete human being. So that artificial humanism, you cannot reproduce a human being in a
no,
true human. A true human cannot be
no,
recreated if it's not following the fitra.
not biologically. The way they get us though is that they begin to replace us mentally and emotionally. Here's where we're having most of the problems in today's world. They will not be able to engineer you so that you come out of your mother's womb as a gorilla or as a dog or as a bird. They can't do that. No, they can't change your species, but they can change your orientation, humanly speaking. A lot of the people who are in the world right now, listen to me carefully. This is my last point. A lot of the world's population right now are not what we would technically consider to be true humans, meaning if humans were left alone and were able to cultivate that salaam nature, that Muslim original nature that Allah created us in, you wouldn't have most of these problems that we have today. But what they are doing is that they're putting influences into the culture through the media, through the language environment, through the lingo that they're teaching us. You notice the lingo changes every 3 to 4 months. Now we got different words that we hear each other saying on the news. And it's now they have normalized cuss words.
Yeah, yeah,
They've normalized them to where the newscasters are using them.
yeah, yeah.
You understand? And they did it subtle. It was real subtle for those who didn't know what they were doing. For those of us who recognized it from the beginning, we can actually quantify percentage wise the increments at which they kept turning up the steam in the pot that the frog was standing in, because they knew that the frog does not register in his nervous system increments in temperature. So they could actually fry a frog in a frying pan by just slowly turning up the heat of the fire beneath the frying pan. And
That's right.
that frog will fry without even, it won't even argue. It won't even fight it. It can feel itself, getting a little bit warmer, but not enough for it to jump out the pan and save itself. That's the science that they're using right now on most of us in the world.
They're
Yeah.
also increasing disorientation by legalizing CBDs, what is it? CBD,
Mhm.
the gummies.
Yeah, the gummies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
The gummies.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Convince the whole world
that's
that's good for you. It'll help you sleep. You need something to help you keep awake. Especially you people who are woke. Because you're woke doesn't mean you're awake. The word woke is past tense.
That's right.
Wake.
In fact, the Imam, he said that, W.D. Muhammad, he said that the way that they snuck in that mentality uh, was through satire,
That's right. And humor. That's
horror,
right.
horror,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and comedy.
That's right.
And in their movies,
Yeah.
they actually are preparing the society for that implementation.
Which movie?
As I'm sorry, through the movies,
Oh,
through
through the
the
movies generally. Yeah,
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 the
that's
silver
right.
screen. Yes, yes,
Muhammad,
Hollywood.
you are spot on. You are right on with that statement.
Yes,
And
sir.
Imam said that in the mid 70s
Yes, that's right.
through the humor. And
Hmm.
for the African American, and I got to tell you this, for the African American, so-called African American people, it began during the 50s and the 60s with comics like Red Fox,
Yes.
to be followed by Richard Pryor. He was the main one who opened up that portal
Yes.
that made it okay
Yes.
to just cuss and fuss on stage in front of your children.
Yes.
Before that, they had records out that would talk nasty jokes and all of that, but you couldn't buy them. You had to. They had to be in a special brown paper bag for you to even buy them from the record store.
Look at that.
They say you want a Red Fox album. You'd have to take it from the back off the shelf, put it in a
Yes.
special brown bag that you couldn't identify, and sell it to you.
Also, Mom's Mabley,
Mom's maybe she was
who
right
was
there,
a
you know.
lesbian, and
Yeah,
she made no bones about it. I'm a lesbian. I
no,
always will be.
no, and there were other
And
artists,
her
of
mouth was
course.
filthy, filthy.
Yeah, we should tell you something that she was a lesbian, but she was always talking about her man.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, they came through the comedians like Flip Wilson, who
That's
comes to
it.
you dressed up as a woman, Geraldine.
There you go. There you go.
You understand?
Mhm.
See, what I do now with my time is I go back to some of those old shows and those old movies
Yes.
so I can consciously study what they did,
Yeah.
what they purposely did. Sometimes the artist wasn't even aware of it. It was those devious, diabolical engineers that told them what to say and what to do and how to wear this dress.
That's it.
You heard what's his name? The comedian Dave Chappelle. Yeah, you heard him talk about it on Oprah Winfrey. They just come into his trailer and say, okay, for the next scene, we need you to wear this dress. And it's not in the script.
Right.
You see? So when you have people like that, and then followed by comedians like Cat Williams, as much as you might not like about his comedy, and I don't like his comedy, it's too way out there for me. But I do pay attention to the fact that he squealed on them. he told on the industry.
We did.
He opened that thing up so far that's the main reason why Diddy is in trouble now. Come to find out that Diddy and his compatriots or companions, let's call them, might be the reason for some of these wildfires in California. Because notice, this is the first time that the rich, wealthy influencers of Hollywood are affected by something that what's being called the deep state are doing. The other people in Lahaina, in Hawaii, the fire went around the rich people, Oprah and all of them. The fire went around them. This fire burned down some of their homes. And some people are surmising that the reason why this fire was able to burn down some of those rich and wealthy people's homes is because there were things in those homes that they had to get rid of. Too much evidence. See, let me just say this without turning this conversation political. I know some of you are very, very political. I'm saying this just for you to observe like a bird from above. Just look down on it. Don't be in it. Look down on it and then report. There are some people who understood that if Trump were to become president, that he was going to haphazardly start pulling the wool off of the eyes of people who thought that many of these other people were very good people and outstanding citizens and actors. And come to find out, just through the Diddy episode, that many of the people we used to uphold as our top entertainers were freaks of the week. They were they are perverts, and there's so much evidence in their homes, in their basements, in their yard that could not be gotten to. You saw them trying to get Ben Affleck. The FBI came and picked up Ben Affleck. That's what I'm talking about. You can't just walk in Ben Affleck's home behind that gate unless you were the Popo, the FBI, these kinds of agencies. And he's one of the main connections with J-Lo. He was married to her. And she is like number 2 in line when it comes to what happened with Diddy and the rest of that foolishness out there and here in New York and in California. So they may just very well, this is just speculation now. I don't know for sure. That's my disclaimer. Right. Allegedly. Yeah, right, Muhammad? Allegedly.
Yeah, surely.
This guy, Diddy, or whatever his name is, and I have a measure of sympathy for him because I know how he grew up. I keep reading about his past, and I know that his mama's probably more guilty than he is because she raised him to be like that. But the society, see, the environment, reinforced his freakishness and his ability to just violate law. He was above the law in his mind. And now you see a mad dash of people trying to get away from him. Oh, no, I was never at a party, or I was there and I saw what happened and I left. And no, so everybody's trying to cry innocent when it comes to what was going on at those parties when they were there every month he was having them, every 3 months, whatever it was, in their white attire or whatever, and they doing anything. And the reason why I'm talking about them is this, the main reason. And I probably wouldn't say anything about that situation if it weren't for this particular factor. What they have done, are doing, and many of them continuing to do with our children.
Right.
Who are these 300,000 missing children?
Yes.
Yes, Denzel is in that group also. Don't let them fool you with the baptism thing. That's a cover.
Yes. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Denzel Washington is at the top of the list for this kind of evil that we're seeing in the world right now. And you said, well, he's got a wife. That doesn't mean his wife ain't in it with him. When you start making a certain level of money,
That's right.
you don't even become regularly married anymore. You become a company that's just making money. So whatever we got to do, whatever we got to say, you messed around, somebody found out you messed around, they tell me about it, I'm supposed to be mad at you. I ain't mad as long as the checks keep coming in. So no, I don't trust any of them. Obama, the same thing. Yes, the same thing. He said, who said Obama has a wife too, and that's even questionable. I ain't telling you I'm not telling you what I'm saying now. I'm telling you what people who know them are saying, who knew them way back. I'm telling you what Obama's wife's mother said about her. On her birth certificate, the name Michael is on there, not Michelle. That's public record. So I'm not saying this to be, whatever you call it, spreading rumors and all of that. No, I'm trying to get to the bottom of something here that's going to eventually affect all of us because they are doing this to our children. And about 2 years ago when the COVID mess started, I started a little organization that was called the Save Our Children. We just didn't keep up the momentum with it. There was too much else going on. But the point is that how do you have 300,000 children? How do you go to the government and say, how did you lose 300,000 of the children from immigration and other things happening in the country? How did you had these children. You gave these children out to families, but you have no record of who you gave them to. Come to find out, many of those people were perverts. Many of those people were imposters. Many of those people were just people who had the money, who could buy children and do what they want with the children with no record. Imagine a child having no birth certificate, no record of them being here. This was going on back in Obama's day. This was going on back when these people, including the Bill Clintons of the world, were were flying children over here from Haiti. Some of you know about this already, right?
Oh, yes.
Flying people over here from Haiti. Children. By the plane loads. Have no proof that they were even born. What do you do? What happened to all of those children? And the government can't answer. Look at some of those sessions sometimes in Congress, in the Senate. They can't answer that question.
Right.
Where did 300, not 300 children, 300,000 children disappear to? Same thing in Maui, same thing in Lahaina, Hawaii. Same thing. Where did these children disappear to? School buses of children. And no one has said after all of these months, we found the remains. They can't even find the school buses. And they're bright yellow. They were bright yellow. So what I'm saying is that this is the day and time for us to keep our eyes wide open. Not in an emotional way, in a rational way. And don't let information that sounds strange just fly over your heads like it's not something to be paid attention to. It is. So that's my position as the instructor over things that you know and should
A
know.
question, do you remember I'm sorry. Do you remember George Burns' last two "Oh God" movies?
Yeah. Oh God. And then
Okay, the last.
oh God, you devil.
There you go. That's when it became all good. Good became evil. Wicked became good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all and so now you got the beauty and the beast marrying, having demon children, and it's all cool. So the beauty and the beast now can marry
Yeah. And
and reproduce.
the rituals that they conduct are bringing these energies, as Bayena and I were discussing with you guys just not that long ago, that everything is frequency. And
That's it.
that's their best use of rituals. Rituals that they use are creating frequencies, but they are abnormal frequencies. They are actually summoning demons. These performers, these rap artists, and these people, when they come on stage and you see these big props, and now they bring Satan on stage with them. The effigy or the Baphomet sitting in the chair. He's on stage with them because they're saying these foolish masses can't even see what we're doing. They are hypnotizing our youth to the point where if you try to take that foolishness away from your child, he might kill you. He might try to kill you. This has happened recently. The father tells his son, you can't do that. You can't play that stuff here in the house. The daughter killed her father and laughed when the police came. So these people are being driven. So again, to Bayena, who made an excellent point about what they cannot do with the biology. No, because you're created fi asani taqwim. But what's going on inside of you, they change that like you change your socks and underwear. They get up the next day, they say, we want the masses to believe this now. It's the Wizard of Oz all over again. Or better told, the Wiz, if you saw the updated version. Here's the new color, y'all. And they get everybody to just keep dancing, mesmerizing, hypnotizing themselves to the new message, the new music. So we have a long way to go. And I believe that Imam Muhammad saw that back in the early days of his leadership, 1970s, 1980s. And he made a subtle attempt to push against the so-called American culture, especially its music and its lyrics. But he had two things working against him. Number one, he had those of us in his association who were not in lockstep with him on that.
That's right.
We had musicians coming up in our association who were singing very nice words and playing nice music, Wali Ali and like Shahada. I mean, we had some groups. They needed some work. Yeah, of course. But we were on our way. Where are you going to start if you don't start there? Where did Motown start? Did they start with all of this? No, they started in the basement, in the house, in the room, in the back.
That's right.
So that's what we were doing. I was a part of that entertainment movement, so-called entertainment movement. And I became pretty popular around the United States as Ben Mushir Bilal, not as Instructor Bilal. Before I was doing the instructing thing, I was still a teacher in the public schools, but I wasn't the one who would go around and perform and sing and that kind of thing with my group. See, I became one of the best known artists in the association of W.D. Muhammad. Back in the early, especially during the 80s and the early 90s, we were pretty good. You understand? But our Muslim public didn't totally support us.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. That's right.
But let James Brown come to town.
That's right. That's right.
See if they don't spend their last piece of rent money on James.
That's right.
So we didn't support each other sufficiently. The second thing that happened, which is even more important than that, is that because Muslim leaders and public in the international Muslim community, the so-called foreign Muslim community, they started calling music what's called bid'ah,
Right.
innovation. We can't do that. Our prophet spoke against music. We can only play drums. We can't play guitars and pianos and all that. He went through that whole thing, which is nowhere to be corroborated in the Quran, that Allah says you can't do the universe is music. How are you going to not do music? What you attach to it as lyrics is the important thing. What are you saying to people? That's what you should be attacking, right? But what happened was something very interesting. Muhammad, the drummer I'm looking at now, right?
Yes,
So
the
he knows
drummer.
exactly what I'm talking about.
That's right.
What they started attacking, or what they were, we had major meetings in different places. I remember one in Newark and another one in Atlanta, where we were having forums. We said, well, we can't just let them tell us as so-called black people who grew up on music. Music saved our lives during slavery. The fact that you could get up and sing a song or a blues song or a jazz or whatever, and we kept our sanity through that. So you can't come over here because you're not used to playing music where you are and tell us that no Muslims are to play music. Imam Siraj, Wahaj, all of they did major. I participated in major forums that they had on that subject, and he told me, he whispered it in my ear practically. He said, "I know music is not haram." He said, "But these people, they got to be, they got to be brought up to know that, to know what we know, in other words. So we're supposed to kowtow to your culture, even though we know your culture is not totally correct.
That's right.
And even though it's going to affect us, because this is practically the only thing we have to push we don't have your industry. We don't have all of the other things that many of the immigrant communities have. We don't have your halal stores that, although we started the halal trend in America, it's the African American who did that. Opened
That's
up the
right.
first halal stores where you could get halal. Then the immigrants came in, the
That's
Pakistanis, the
right.
Egyptians, the white, whatever,
Mhm.
the carts with the Afghanis, they making a, I hate to say it, but they making a killing off of the halal
Yeah.
carts.
Yeah.
But who started all of that is my question. So when they said music was haram, many of our Muslims who follow them without doing our own research, like we did with
Mhm.
the COVID thing, we don't do our research, but because Fauci said, we just, oh, okay, well, that's Fauci. He's got to know better than us. He went to school for this. Muslims said we can't do music because they said we can't do music at all, even though
Mhm.
in their lands,
They do. They do. They do. They do.
you
That's right.
understand?
That's right.
Veiled women swinging their hips to
That's
music.
right. That's right.
So that was the bigger problem, that they said we couldn't do it. Now, what happened was that their children became teenagers when our children were becoming teenagers. And right there at 125th Street, Harlem, New York, they had a major music fest hosted, sponsored, and performed by Muslim children of America. And they did every kind of beat, every kind of rap, every kind of hip hop, but they tailored it to a positive message. And whenever it was lyrics, they weren't talking foolish stuff like many of our artists are talking. That's when their parents began to either break themselves off from their children and say, we can't rock with you no more, so to speak. Or the parents began to say, well, let's allow it. Now, yeah, there's something positive they can do. But when it was their children, then they said they thought about it. But when it was our children, they said, bid that. So many of our children just dropped music altogether, although there are still a sufficient number of them who are still doing nice stuff now with the advance in the technologies in the music industry, meaning I can have a Motown right here in my office with the technology I don't have to go to
Mhm.
Detroit anymore. Look at what the amount of money I can save. I can get a little contraption, cost more than $200-300, maybe about that, and run a whole music studio. I do it. That's what I do. Awesome. Do all my recording right from home or right from a friend's house in his basement somewhere.
Mhm.
And it sounds as good as what Motown is, but better. I'm talking about quality wise because of the way you record now. It's not tracks. You see what I'm saying? Anymore.
Mhm.
So, long story short, that's what we have to return to if we're going to return to the dignity of what's called Muslim community life. If we don't want to return to that life, we might as well give up the Muslim life because the Muslim life needs a foundation. And the foundation for all things is built into the culture,
That's it. That's it.
the land.
Right.
Yes.
Imam Muhammad said, you cannot continue to call yourselves a community until you have land.
That's it.
That is it.
Yes,
Everything grows out of the agriculture.
that's it.
That's how all people feed themselves, from the agriculture, not from the schoolhouse initially,
Hmm.
not from the banks, not from the economic side,
Right.
from the land side. Not
That's
the
it.
lake, not the lake side. Everybody can be out there on the water, but everybody, even your 3-year-old, can participate in pulling up harvest and planting seeds. See, all of the family members can participate in that. We can't all go fishing on the seas because it's too tempestuous out there, but we can go plant some seeds. So I hope everybody's understanding
That's
what I'm
right.
saying. All right. So we have to get back to basics, and nunetics, as far as I'm concerned, is the only real program that's pushing the fitra-based method for establishing community life. He said, unless you get some land, you can't consider yourself to be a community. You can only say that we are an association.
That's right.
So all of these people talking about I'm the new leader of the community of W.D. Muhammad. You're wasting your time
That's right.
based on what he said.
That's
He
right.
said you
Yes,
can't call yourself a community
That's
until
right.
you get some land.
that's it.
Other than that, you're just my associates. I can associate with whoever I want to, but that's not written in stone because you associate with somebody. Are you helping to grow the land and grow the food on that land? Are you helping to build schools to educate the youth on that? Until you're doing that, you're talking nothing but pure DBS. I don't care who you are as a leader in his association. And just
Right.
for the record, I'm not in his association. What they do and say doesn't govern what I do and say because I'm for the new world of Al-Islam and Muslims. And my Muslim meaning, you'll hear it next week, is anybody who agrees to be a true human and stay within the bounds and the parameters of what true humans do as a default setting of peace. And Imam Muhammad said the same thing in other words. He said, yes, he said, I get together with these other religious leaders. And he said that they are so comfortable with me and I'm so comfortable around them that all of the labels disappear. So what was he saying? Because I have people in my family who treat me better than some Muslims treat me. In my family, I got cousins and aunties and uncles for all my life who have treated me better and who want to hear from me and what I believe and what I say and what I do. As a Muslim, they want to hear, they want the Muslim to be there. My Muslim presence in my family caused, well, my family, generally speaking, never ate pork because we were born in the Jewish thing, that experience. So we didn't have to worry about that. But them people would be out there at the annual reunion drinking a little sip of whiskey and wine and all of that. Do you know that it was my influence and my brother's influence? And we were only, what, 16 I was at that time. My whole family gave up drinking at the reunions. For many years after that, they never bought a wine bottle with them to the picnic or a whiskey bottle. Many of them stopped smoking cigarettes while they were at the picnic. That's what I mean by default setting, Baina, and that your default setting is a commander in their presence. They can't tell your frequencies what to do when you come with this frequency,
That's
and
right.
they know you mean it. And there's no antagonism, there's no hatred, there's nothing like that. There's just the pure essence of your frequencies operating. So that's what I want all of you to know. I gotta go. Anything,
Alhamdulillah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? There's anything else you need to know? Just email it to me. This is wonderful. This is refreshing, and we're going to be building a society one day that will respect the parameters of what the Quran gives us as the parameters for true community life. Take what I say seriously. Study what I say on the level that it should be studied and accepted if your soul agrees with it. If your soul doesn't agree with anything that I'm saying, if you think I'm wrong in some areas, don't follow that. I don't care. Don't listen. You shouldn't listen to it. I wouldn't if my soul had a problem with it. It's like Abraham in the Quran. He said, it's not that I have a problem with what you're saying, Allah. He said, but I need for my soul to be at rest. And that's when Allah said, take 4 birds. So don't try to build the 4 corners of community life if your soul is not yet at rest. Your soul needs to be at rest. And I'm going to tell you something surprising that might shock you. What Minister Farrakhan has done, in my estimation, is laudable. I don't care whether you call him a Shriner or a Mason. No, if he's not accepting that title, I'm not going to call him that in public. I'm not going to be the one to say, unless I was there and saw him take the pledge to. I know what you're looking at as a video when he had the Mason garb and all. I know. There are many people who wear the garb of the people who invited them when they go to their sessions. And they say, well, yeah, this is just out of respect. I know what they say. But what I'm thinking has to go beyond Minister Louis Farrakhan for now. When I say beyond him, he is responsible for keeping a marginal level of sanity amongst his people. And he is an example. I think Allah left him and them in the world to tell us, you guys are the ones who went wrong. What Farrakhan believes in as the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, that was already marginal Islam, if Islam at all, but it was marginal Islam that we were following in that day and time. He picked it up, he became enthralled by it, he became in love with it, and that's his prerogative. Allah has to deal with him and what he did that might have been right and might have been wrong. But I've seen a whole lot of things that he did as a leader that were more right than wrong, even though other people might disagree with it. It was more right than it was wrong, especially based on what he could have done at a 1,000,000-man march if he chose to do it. This world would have been so upset that it would have taken years to rebuild what they could have possibly destroyed at his command. So that's too big for Instructor Benjamin Bilal to judge. I leave that to Allah.
That's it.
I'm not trying to judge him. I'm not trying to weigh his deeds. I'm not that kind of power. I can only ask myself, is what he's doing of benefit to the African American people?
Yeah.
And I have to say that if he really put his people in the proper place, even this whole thing about what's going on in our neighborhoods right now, from the wildfires to all the way around, just a few words from his mouth could have solved that. But I know he reached a particular level where he said, no more warning. I'm not warning you guys. I've been doing this for 40 years or whatever. And if you haven't figured it out for yourselves, God bless you, because I'm getting older. And I can't afford to be before you every year singing the same song, but getting the same reaction from the majority of my people. And that is treating me like an entertainer. He refused to keep going down that path.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So take that with a grain of salt, or take that as deep as you want to into the water that you're in, trying to navigate those situations regarding him. He is still my brother.
That's right. That's right.
Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl were still the Prophet's uncles.
That's right.
They shared common experiences.
Yes.
We share common experiences with those who initiated Islam in America. Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, and there's a few others. Marcus Garvey even had a Muslim teacher.
That's right.
You understand? So we have something in common with them that we don't have in common with the immigrant Muslims in this country or in this world.
That's right.
That's right.
So I can't expect them to understand every nuance of what it is we're thinking and doing and the decisions that we make in regards to these people. I can't have them be the dictators of how I treat that person based on the connections, DNA and otherwise, that I have with these other people.
That's right, man.
I refuse to do that. They will be amputating you slowly but surely when they do that. So you can't walk.
That's right.
And then you won't be able to talk.
That's right.
And when you talk,
Yeah.
you're going to have an accent that you weren't born with.
That's right.
When you
That's
walk,
it.
you're going to have a dress that you didn't grow up in that dress.
That's right.
Yeah.
Claim your own. If you don't have a Muslim design, if you want to call it that, for your clothing, find one.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Go with a towel around your whole body until you find your own culture and find your own self within
That's right.
Islam.
That's right.
That's what time it is.
Praise be to
That's
Allah.
it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. So that's all I have to say on that.
Yes, sir.
That's a
You
mouthful,
see,
brother.
you see,
Speaking of which,
you see in my
now I
work
had a
environment.
hold on,
Yeah,
hold on.
that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Instructor,
He got
now I
his
had
Muslim
a brief,
clothes on that. Yes. Huh?
now I had a brief announcement she wanted to make,
Go right
which is
ahead.
right in line with what you're talking about. Her family
Please.
has been successful business-wise, and it's around what our cultural dress in terms of our hair. They do the braiding.
Yeah.
Their family has received an award doing that. And Nawa, are you there?
Yes, I am. Salam alaikum, everybody.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum
There she
salam.
goes. Okay.
Good. This
Yeah.
is gonna go on
Go
for some
for it.
time. So yes, thank you so much, William, for allowing me to just present really quickly. But so as William mentioned, my parents have a natural hairstyling braiding salon that's located on Long Island, New York, which is just outside of the five boroughs. They established it in 1996, so we're going on 30 years. The place that the salon is at now is I'm taking it over and evolving it, and I have a lot happening because we're actually hiring people outside of the family and outside of like the West African cultural diaspora. That's the majority of the people who work there, but now we're opening the doors to the larger African American community. I mean, it's not limited to that, but those are our primary target of people we
Understandable.
grow with.
Yeah.
So we on the island, specifically Long Island, it's predominantly Caucasian. There are other cultures there, but it's not a lot of African Americans. So where our business is located on Main Street is predominantly white businesses. And it's been a long time coming, but we've been able to stay and to the point where the white people who live in the community are like, hey, you need a braiding spot? We know where it's at. So it's good. It's been really good
That's
over the
excellent.
years.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
How beautiful. How beautiful.
we got nominated for something called the Long Island Beauty Affairs Award. So it's like a local magazine there for beauty and all things beauty. And we got nominated for Best Braids on Long Island. And I just wanted to share the link. It's going to be really quick.
Please.
I just need some more votes. We're trying to hire it as
Don't make it so quick that you leave something out. Just take your time. Give us
Good
time.
luck.
okay, because people, you know, our classes could go on really long. So I just want to be respectful and allow, you know, us to finish the conversation at hand.
Sure.
But I just want to put the link in the chat, and then I'll also send it to William and Instructor directly so that you guys continue to share it. But we just need some more votes. It's really easy. If you click on the link, it asks for like your name, your number, and like your email address, and then like who do you vote for, and that's about it. So it's really quick, 2 minutes, you'll be done with it. And I just wanted to get as many votes as possible because by Tuesday, the 21st, that by midnight, actually midnight, the 21st is when it closes. So I just wanted to share it with everyone here. And if I could just cast your vote so that we can get this award. And it's a nice thing. You get a spread in the magazine and they actually have an award show where they give out, you know, like, you know, some type of trophy or something to
Sure,
recognize
sure.
you. So it's just, you know,
That's
it's a
great.
simple thing for the community, but it's really nice. And it would be
Oh,
good
listen,
to add.
whenever positive things come forth like that, we want to
Yeah.
be able
Yeah.
to push it and advertise it and promote
Absolutely.
it
Absolutely.
and support it for sure. So
Thank you
make
so
sure
much.
that you do that,
Thank you.
and Bayina will get it also if you put it in
Awesome.
the chat.
I'm gonna put it
And
right in the chat.
I'll be able to send that out when the video is ready for sending out to YouTube. Yeah.
And for anyone who's computer savvy, if you know how to use the chat, you could just click the link because it'll be in there and you could just cast your vote right now. You don't have to wait.
Yeah. Well, that link is going to disappear once we finish. So if you do it
Yep,
now and we
Okay.
hit it now, we'll have it in our computers. So do that for us now.
Instructor, you're gonna put it in the replay, right?
It won't be in the replay from the video because the video doesn't capture the chat. But if she gives it to me now, then I will
Yeah.
reproduce it and send it in the replay. Yeah. So you don't have
Yeah.
to necessarily copy it now. Some of you are on your phones and whatever, you know, and you're
Yeah,
working like all
yeah.
y'all do.
I'm not in. As you can see, I'm in my work element.
I see.
Yeah, yeah. But
I see.
alhamdulillah.
All right.
Yeah,
Glad you could still
yeah.
join us.
Yes,
Is
indeed.
the class happening today?
Yes, they're there. I couldn't make it. I have just this project I had to get, done today. So, but I talked to Imam Kareem, and they're
Good,
there.
good. Long as
Yeah,
they're there. Yeah, great.
yeah, they taking care of business.
All right.
Yeah,
Great,
all right.
great, great. Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
So now just let me know when you're finished with that so I can get the
Now, while
link.
for some reason it's saying that the video is unavailable.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. It was actually the wrong link. Let me send the proper link.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So, oh, nice.
Okay, great. Set the link.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
All righty.
That's the perfect conclusion
Yep.
to an excellent session.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
It's Muhammad Alim Ali from California.
Yes.
I would like to extend myself to Muhammad Abdullah. So, I have an academic background and a music background, and I'd like to share some things with him, just to let you know. And we just have to get our courage and keep going forward. Praise be to
All
Allah.
right. So, how do you want to do that? You want to get his
This is
email
phone
address?
number, email or phone number.
Yeah, I don't want to put the number out in the public. So,
Oh, okay, yeah. So if it can,
Brother,
yeah.
if you could,
can I ask you, Brother Muhammad, can I ask you to give me a call because my phone broke. I lost your number. Could you call me? Because I want to talk to you about that as well.
okay,
All right. So, Muhammad, I'll send it to you. I'll text it to you.
okay. Thank you very
And
much. Thank you.
Muhammad, I'll text you his. And you
Thank you.
guys
Thank you.
Okay,
do
thank
what
you. I
do.
appreciate that. And
All
thank
right.
you for the offer, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Praise be to Allah.
Great.
All right.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. So, inshallah, William, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you if there's any last minute anything that you need to do, and then we'll be through. Don't anybody go anywhere until we close out.
No, that's pretty much it. So I'd like to encourage everybody to, be sure and take the time to go over our classes, after the fact. And when you pull them up, don't use them for entertainment. Go to the right now we're still on YouTube. Pull up the videos, the replays from our class, study them, and find a way to apply it in your life. It's so important. We are in a process right now of, you might think we're just here as students in a class. We are students or learners in the class, but we are actually building the foundation for community life. That's what we're doing. See, and it starts inside of you, inside of me. So we have to build using the instructor mentioned today about what we'll be doing in the near future, where you actually be learning firsthand, really salah. Don't wait on that. Just take from what you can see right now and start applying it. Do your best to meditate. Do your best to concentrate. Do your best to contemplate right now.
Mm-hmm.
We can refine it as we go.
Yeah.
But start making what we have, be comfortable with that, and that's the process of growth. We are forming community life right now as we speak.
Yes.
So get actively engaged in this information. This is not entertainment. We're not just casually visiting with each other. No, this is serious business. This is your life, whether you realize it or not. And it's your responsibility to build your life right inside of yourself, extending to your family, your neighbors, your community, but all true humans on the planet.
Indeed.
So I think that's
as William made a very important point that I hope doesn't go over anyone's head, and that is that you shouldn't wait. No community is born complete. That's what Muslim means. It means growth towards a complete, comprehensive life, but you don't begin comprehensive. You don't begin covering all of the 4 bases. You begin where you are. And proof of that is that every time a human baby is born, it's not like when a cow is born or when a bitty bird is born. They are already born with the instinctive instructions of how to build their life, how to build their nest, how to build the things that they need, even as infants coming into the world. They have that. The cow that produces a calf. That calf falls out of its mother's belly, almost on its legs, ready to run. Just watch a video of a baby cow being born, and you'll see that it drops right out of its mother. And the legs might be split open. It's going to be wobbly at first, but give it about 10 minutes, an hour. That calf is running through the field with its mother.
That's
Look
right.
at the infant. When you come here, you're still incomplete. You know, spend 9, 10 months in your mother's belly. Some creatures only spend 3 or 4 months in their mother's belly, but you're almost a year of growing in your mother's belly. You still can't walk. You still can't talk. You can't feed yourself. The baby calf can reach up to his mother's udders and suck the milk. You can't sit at the dinner table and talk about what's up for what's up for breakfast, what's up for dinner, dad or mom. You make noises. They don't know what you mean. They don't know when you got to go to the bathroom. They don't know when you're too hot and you need some covers pulled off of you. They got to guess their way through your infancy and much of your toddler years. Because humans are not born comprehensive. We are born with the potential for being comprehensive. And that's a journey. And that's what's so beautiful about this human life and how Allah forgives for the things that we don't know how to do them and why we're doing them and all of that. So stop being so judgmental of other people and where they're going after they leave this planet. You better worry about where you are right now that you're on the planet. So like I said, don't get into a condemning game with people. Farrakhan ain't no Muslim. Elijah Muhammad wasn't no, he's a kafir. Shut up. And if he was, what does it have to do with you? What are you doing with your life right now? How many Muslims are you talking to? How many other people are you talking to? You haven't even talked to your cousin Pookie yet. But you say Islam is the way because you're trying to talk to him by wearing a garb, chewing on some miswak, speaking terms that they don't know because they don't speak Arabic. And you think that's the Muslim life. I'm sorry, I got to read one thing out of this new book of Imam Muhammad, and then that'll conclude and actually give credence to just about everything that we said today. If I can find it real quick, give me just one moment. But I need some assistance. Listen to this carefully. I believe this is the part. Yeah. This is on page 10 of the new book published by Ronald B. Shahid called Message to a New People in America, Observations of Imam W.D. Muhammad. Listen carefully. This is under the heading, Losing Sight of the Real Meaning of the Religion. Quote, we lose sight on the real beauty and the real meaning for the religion. The real beauty and real meaning of the religion is not just doing prayers and dhikrs. Some of you have followed traditional, so-called traditional, ritualistic Muslim influences, and you haven't accepted them in your full life, meaning your comprehensive life. You accepted them only in their ritualistic life. So you follow them in their rituals, and you think Islam is nothing but doing dhikr on your fingers or on the beads, brushing your teeth with a stick that's made soft on the end, and wearing garbs for the desert. You think that that is the religion. Putting some incense in the house, burning incense and some oils, some musk on your skin. That's the religion for you. And saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, ya akhi, alhamdulillah, ya akhi, mashallah, inshallah, etc. You have about 10 sentences, and that's the religion. That's not the religion. I'm not saying it to make jokes. It's humor, and I welcome you to enjoy yourselves, but me, I have no jokes in me. I'm very serious. I have no intent to make a joke. It is very serious. This is real, and this is serious. This is not Islam. Islam is the full life for human being. The original religion in its original state, the religion upon or the pattern upon that which he patterned mankind. فَتَرَى النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. the pattern upon which he has fashioned or established all people. This is a universal concept. It is not an, quote, in the sky away from reality, end quote, concept. It is a universal concept. God does not reject the natural life of the human being. How can he reject it when he created it? I'm going to send in the replay notes how to get this book. I can sell it myself and make a few dollars. I'm not interested in making a few dollars. I'm interested in you getting this information. So I'll just tell you where to go, who to order from, how much it costs, and when you can expect it. And you do the rest from there. You got it?
Alhamdulillah. Yes.
Yes.
As I greet you in the greetings of peace, the greetings that obligate each and every one of us to keep the peace. Salamun alaikum to you all. I love you. Be good.
Like
Love you too,
Be
baby.
too.
Love, love
Salam.
all
Alaikum,
of you.
everyone.
Okay.
Yes. Walaikum salam.